fuck updated or anything. I was copy and pasting shit. It says that it's working. Like it says that we're live.
That's good. I'm glad everything's working as intended.
Working as intended. Totally not working as intended.
It's a feature, not a bug, Tony.
I meant to do that.
Yeah.
If anybody like we're old enough to remember watching Get Smart, which we were the last generation that would watch Get Smart.
Probably.
Because it was on Nick at Night.
That's the
and
only
that was
reason I'd
the
seen it.
old people's time.
It really was.
And I watched Nick at Night and I watched Get Smart. Then they made the Get Smart movie and it wasn't as good as this show Get Smart.
I like that you're like, that was the old people's time, but now you're like, kids, get off my lawn.
Well, yeah, because I hate the old people, but I also hate the young ones.
You're just at an awkward age where you're just, you know how people say
I've
like,
literally been in this awkward age where I hate everyone since I was born.
you know, only medium people, only medium-sized people, only medium-sized fries, only medium-related things.
I like large fries. I want a large fry. I'll go for a large fry. All right, let me test this audio out.
Okay.
Testing out the large fries. Large fries. I would like an order of large fries.
All right, hey everybody. This is my audio test. 1, 2, 3.
That looks very loud. Like I think something touched.
I'm pretty sure the big button got bumped.
Yeah, that totally looks like that got bumped. So we're
Yeah,
gonna do this.
that
again
looks
in a
like
second.
the looks like a certain orange cat got into that.
I don't know if there's any paint on. Oh my god! Just delete that. That's fucking way too loud. There's no paint on it, so how would I know?
Right.
I'm just gonna knock it down to there.
Yeah.
That seems like a much better place. Yes, yes. Oh, you're on Mixer too. Fucking, you smell a dirty slut. Fucking lashes all up on Mixer.
Fun.
Yeah, let me put the chat.
I'm more surprised to see that somebody's actually on Mixer.
Weirdly, actually, my friends on Xbox, since it's gone through my profile on Xbox,
Right, yeah.
will watch us randomly on there. Be like, hey, Tony's doing his show, so we'll just pop that up on Mixer and play a game
nice.
while we watch the
Nice.
show.
I just clicked whatever Windows. You know, that's how we got into this problem in the first place. Was just people like, yeah, sure, I'll go ahead and take that Windows update that will install 50 million fucking apps and shit in my fucking Windows 10.
Yeah, there's a hidden secret. Under the update section, there's basically an update delay.
Yeah.
Where you can, because there's also like the update that borked everybody's fucking hard drives.
Yeah.
You can click that, and it's a much safer. It makes like everything have to be like super tested on the like millions of computers before it updates on yours.
Right.
And,
By the way, hi, new person. We're actually about to start the show. This is just
yeah, we're fucking off for a second while I test the audio.
we're just making sure that we're good to go for recording.
The
So.
cat went and fucked
Yeah.
with our mixer. All right, let's try this again. Large fries. That looks better on the large
All
fries.
right. Hey,
Yeah.
adventurers, and welcome to the show. 1, 2, audio test.
You're peaking now for some reason.
I was a little bit loud there. I'll probably not get that loud.
No,
but
I mean I'll just do a little bit of that,
yeah.
and that will probably be fine.
That's probably it.
I'm just
Yeah.
gonna start recording it.
All right, cool.
So there we go. Move this over here. Plug it in the hole. Move it over there. Take a sip. I don't like it whenever the beer does this.
I know, I hate that.
Whenever they get extra, I'll turn it to the camera. When they get
Floppity.
extra floppity,
Yeah, I don't like floppy.
I don't like it whenever there's no glue.
Yeah.
Why is there excess of no glue in non-excess? And it's
horrible.
In excess.
It's in
It is.
excess.
It is the band.
in excess. Yeah. Okay, this will be fun.
When was the last time you listened to In Excess?
Oh God, I don't know.
Yeah, it's been ages. All right. I'm clicking the start watching because it says from mature people on Twitch. So
We are for mature people.
we are very immature people.
I had people in one of my mobile game guilds start listening, and he's like, "I'm glad that you prefaced that with you guys put all the adult language in there." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna
All of the
if
adult
you're
language.
if you're offended by profanity, then maybe we're not the show for you."
Oh, okay. I'm just gonna update the Twitch dashboard over here because it's being dumb.
Yeah, it's fine.
Like, I just want to. I'm double, triple checking all the things.
It's fine.
All right, it looks like it's going over there pretty good. It's doing 720 at 60 on that source, so
It's fine.
that's fine. I don't really care. All right. It says we're connected to all the shit.
Okay,
it says
cool.
we're fucking streamable.
You've updated with the title and everything?
Yep. We're Netflix versus the world.
Yep.
With like a parentheses things like, look how fast Netflix can spend money.
Right.
Because they're literally running out of negative. We'll get into that later.
Yeah, we definitely will.
All right, I'm gonna go and just close, I guess, this because I don't need it open anymore.
Okay. Boop.
But then it's still open. I don't know why it didn't close.
You didn't hit the close tab button.
Yeah. Yes, close 2 tabs. I'm not used to it doing that.
Yeah.
I run with Chrome on my computer,
Yeah.
like the Chrome OS, and it just
does it.
just closes things and then just reopens them. It's the preferred. Alrighty. Hey Brooklyn, what's up?
All right. Here we go.
Go.
Netflix dominates the entertainment industry, but what's next for them? Adventures, gear up for an all-new episode.
That's not too bad.
Greetings, adventurers, and welcome to the show. We are the Surly Nerd, your one-stop shop for geek news that might have flown under your radar over the last week. I'm your host, James, and with me, as always, is the producer of this fine show, Tony.
Hi.
And out this week is Hector. He's taking a 4-day weekend like a slacker, so it's just going to be the two of us today. We are here to entertain you, as always. Now, if you are new to our show, welcome. Of course, we have a big news topic. It's going to be kind of about the future of Netflix and what they're going to be doing. But before that, we have a recap of all the nerd news that's fit to rant about for your ears. Don't forget that you can keep connected with us through thesurlynerd.com. We can follow us on all social media platforms and even donate to the show. Every penny donated goes right back into the show that we make for you every week. With all that out of the way, ladies and gentlemen, adventurers of all ages, it's time for The Prelude.
Someone's licking.
Right. Dog, why are you so loud?
It's okay. It's okay. No, it's the very inner hit. All right, let me mute that. Aaron, will you call Jenny over? Aaron has her headphones on.
She does, yes, absolutely.
Go see Aaron.
Go that way.
Go that way. Go that way. I wish you liked. No, you're literally doing the opposite of that. Let me go convince her to go in the other room. Come on. Let's go see Aaron.
This is a great, strong start to the show here, you know, wrangling the herding dog. All right, so this should be pretty interesting. So I think we're going to be talking a little bit about video game streaming this week. Brooklyn, I do have Mortal Kombat in the docket for today. So if I forget anything that seems like an important thing to talk about for Mortal Kombat, I grabbed some of the highlights, but if you remember anything, let me know so we can talk about that when we get to it.
All right, so you know plenty about it. You should probably just get over here. I'm just gonna throw that out there, you know.
Great use of that. That was perfect.
Yeah, so that way we can talk about it.
Yeah.
If you just get over here. Yeah, no, I have not looked at any of the Mortal Kombat stuff.
Looks cool. Looks cool.
Much like the Spider-Man Far From Home, I really just want the thing to happen.
Yeah.
I'm kind of at this point, like I've watched a little bit of Anthem to the point where I'm like,
You're done.
I kind of like it's like less than a month away.
Yeah.
It's a couple like 2 weeks till the beta.
Yeah.
Like I just want to not right now. I just want to have the thing.
Right.
So I can just not.
All right, let's do this.
All right. Prelude.
All right, this is the prelude. This is our warm up for the show. This is what we've been doing with ourselves this week, what we've been playing, what we've been watching, what's been occupying our free time. Tony, why don't we start with you this week?
I've been doing some paintings.
Yeah, that sounds
that's
like
been fun. I'm doing these flow painting things. It's been entertaining. You know, your cat decided to try and help me apparently while I was at work today and get into the paint. Yeah,
Yeah, that's fun.
But thankfully, it's all like in the bathroom area, so it's very clean upable. I'm very happy that the cat decided to do it in there and not in the room. I would kick him out whenever I'm painting, so it's fun. Other than that, I don't know. Like I've been reading some books, just nothing really nerd related on that. So it's not really. I'm also not anywhere near finished. So
Oh, okay.
so it's the books can't really talk about. I mean, I've been trying to not talk about Destiny. I mean,
Right.
that's the one thing that I played the most of this week.
Right. Is there any particular reason for it? Or?
It was double then triple XP for PvP.
Right.
So I've been playing the living fuck out of that and trying to unlock new weapons and stuff and doing PvP all at the same time, and it's just been it's been fun, oddly enough.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I mean, I get it. It's been kind of a slow nerd week for me as well. I mean, I don't have a ton that happened this week that was like super exciting to talk about. Like I bought a car. Like that.
Yeah, you bought a car.
Not like super exciting to talk about. I went and did that.
I mean, if this was a car show, it'd be
this was a
super
car show,
exciting to
people would be
talk
super
about.
into it.
But the rest of us were being like, okay.
Or a Fast and the Furious podcast. You know,
I
we
mean,
could be-
honestly, why don't we have a Fast and the Furious podcast?
we probably could.
We should,
we would have
is what you're
millions of
saying,
listeners.
because you don't like Fast and the Furious, and I absolutely love Fast and the Furious, and everybody knows that you're wrong.
That's probably true. That's
I love the
probably
Fast
true.
and Furious
I
movies.
watched the first three; they were enjoyable.
I'm really looking forward to the first spin-off from the Fast and the
I'm
Furious.
just wondering
we're
why
getting
we
this
haven't gotten a
summer.
Gone in 60 Seconds sequel. That's what I'm wondering. Let's see.
You can just leave. The show's over.
So-
James is done.
So the one nerd-related thing that I did do this week, I actually finished up right before the show started. I finally got off my ass and watched X-Men Apocalypse.
You mean you got on your ass and watched that?
Watched X-Men Apocalypse. That was a thing that happened.
That movie was a thing that happened.
It is, absolutely. And I know that this is a late game review to discuss this real quick, but I did want to bring it up because it brings me back around to several other movies that have come out in the last few years, specifically things like Batman versus Superman. I know that we touched very briefly on this when we were talking about that movie, but I think it still applies here. So I finished watching X-Men Apocalypse. It's really cute that they gave it a,
We finished watching like 10 minutes before we started doing
yeah,
the show.
it's really cute they gave it a bonus ending, hoping that there was going to be more of those movies made.
There are more movies being made.
damn
There
it,
is
there are.
one more.
There's
There's fucking Phoenix Saga or Phoenix,
It's so
which we
bad.
don't need, and that is possibly eventually maybe coming out if this merger thing works out. We don't fucking know. Why'd they even make it?
So my problem with the movie, let's just jump into that real quick.
You only have one problem. You only have one
I'm
problem.
going to
with it.
try and keep this as brief as possible because this movie has been out for a while. My problem with it, is the same problem I have with Batman versus Superman, is that the entire time I was watching it saying, there actually is a really cool movie in here that got really hampered down by extraneous bullshit. Mm-hmm. Like, if you watch it, there's some really cool scenes, some really cool character development. There's a lot of, like, really great things that kind of move the story forward from where we started in First Class, which is probably arguably the best X-Men movie that's come out.
It's not arguably. It definitely is. Like it is.
and-
Everyone's decided that's the best one.
Right. And it feels like it is a logical extension of the story, but they try to cram so much shit into this 2.5 hours. It was 2.5 fucking hours, Tony.
Oh god, it felt so much longer when I watched that.
And then I
it
was
felt
just-
like my life had just drained from me.
Right. And I feel
Like
like
Apocalypse actually did drain the life and killed off all of humanity for anybody who watched that movie.
Right, and I feel like of those 2.5 hours, there's 30 minutes of it that I just loved. And I was like, man, if you had just expanded on these 30 minutes that were so cool, but they wanted to do like 5 million things. Like, why do we have Wolverine in here? There's literally no point to having him in it. Like, it was just we need to put a Wolverine cameo in, go. And I was like,
Because you can't have an X-Men movie without Wolverine
But
in
you
it for
can.
some reason.
But you can.
They did
and
it
I'm
in First
hoping,
Class.
and I'm praying in my heart of hearts, as somebody who's been an X-Men fanboy as long as I've been reading comics, that this move over to Marvel is just going to fix it.
I mean, I hope so too, because obviously Disney, Marvel, ginormous entity that it is, knows what the fuck they're doing to the point where they told Sony, shut the fuck up, suck our dick, give us Spider-Man.
Right.
And they did, and look how well that's going now.
Yeah, but then we also got Venom out of that. So
Yeah, that's Sony doing Sony shit.
Right.
That's Sony doing Sony shit. The Spider-Man that was included in the Avengers and Spider-Man Homecoming and the new Spider-Man Far From Home is Marvel saying, fuck you, we control Spider-Man.
That is true.
Anything outside of that is Sony being stupid Sony.
Right.
It's much like this is Fox being stupid Fox. And while they have given us probably they've given us 3 amazing mutant movies with Logan
Yeah.
and Deadpool 1 and 2.
Okay. You know, I mean, like, I did like, obviously, X-Men First Class. I feel like the old school X-Men movies, like the very beginning of them, like the first movie, was actually really good. Like, the first one was
It was a different time.
it was a different time. It was.
There were certain words you could say in public and nobody would get on to you about.
Right.
That kind of different time.
Yeah, I mean, you can say the word mutant everywhere, and you just can't do that now. We've really come far as a society, I believe.
We've gotten better, I think.
We've gotten better at things. You know what the thing that I think is kind of fun about the X-Men First Class series, and there's very little to say about this is that it almost feels by the end of X-Men Apocalypse, they really are trying to bring it all back around to the beginning of the first X-Men movie. Like
that was the point, was they're
like,
trying to just shoehorn this really cool story into the really shitty story.
Right. And it was one of those things as I was watching, I'm like,
Which honestly, I'm gonna applaud them for this, because that is the most X-Men story thing they've ever done.
That is very true.
They took one really cool story and then fucked it all up with this other story and then forced it to all be one ginormous story.
And then put time travel in. If you were
If
you're an X-Men franchise, you have to throw
honestly, X-Men Apocalypse is the most X-Men movie that has ever existed.
I know, and it's sad. And the budget on this thing was really large, and
it doesn't look like it.
Doesn't look like it. It had to have all gone to the actors.
I think it all went to the CGI because.
And what a waste of the actor who played Apocalypse, by the way, and also like a waste of Olivia Munn. Like what a waste of actors in general.
Honestly, what is a waste of the entire fucking cast, of which there was too much.
Yeah.
All right, I really love the fact that we're discussing a movie that's like 3 years old.
That's very true.
That the sequel was, or the final chapter of the Dark Phoenix movie
about to come out.
Was supposed to come out a year ago.
That is true. It got pushed back.
And has gotten pushed back, I think, 3 times now.
Yeah.
Still not out. Still no definite actual release date.
I think the movie poster said like June or July or something.
Yeah, they've changed that movie poster 3 times now.
That's
so
true.
I'm not going to trust it until it's in theaters, and I know 7 people who've seen it.
Okay, so that's everything that we have for the Prelude this week. We're going to take a small break. When we come back, we'll be going to level 1 comic book news.
Honestly, yeah, I should have been like, no, we've got something more important to talk about.
We do have
no. At the beginning, we were like, so what do you just like? No, we have to talk about this movie that's 3 years old.
Sorry, I have to talk about it.
I need a rant about how you just now watched this horrible piece of shit that I've been holding in my head and not able to yell at you with.
I know. I'm such an X-Men fanboy, and it just hurt my heart.
But it finally came into my brain, it is the most X-Men of X-Men movies.
It really is.
It has stupid time travel. It took a really cool story, bent it over backwards, fucked it really hard, and then shoehorned some extra crap in for no reason.
Yeah, it was bad.
It was a waste of half of the people's skills and talents in it.
Yeah.
It's literally the most X-Men story ever made.
All right, let's see this.
And I don't paint people well. I don't paint people well.
I think you could paint him. I think you could paint him as a French girl.
I think I could paint like literally on him. I could paint a French girl on him.
Ooh, that'd be fun.
I think Noob, that's what we're gonna have to do. I'm gonna paint you, a French girl on you. That's what we're gonna do. Those are called tattoos generally.
Yeah. Well, let's start with paint and then work your way up.
I'm just gonna paint I'm gonna tattoo the side of a as a Model T or Model A. But with a handprint on the side of it. There you go. It's gonna be because inside that was them fucking. Yeah. So that's the entire thing. I
see where you're going with this.
It's got layers.
It does have layers. You're very deep, Tony.
Yes.
All right,
I'm kind of like an iceberg that way.
I know you are.
There's more below the surface.
Not these days. There's not.
Alrighty. Oh, I need to click the next section thing over here. Go to the editor, click some fucking shit. Move the fucking thing. There we go, comic book news. And then move the shit back over there where I can't see it. Level 1 comic book news.
Hey, adventurers, welcome back to the show. So this week is going to be an all Marvel week. Now, these things happen in comic books a lot.
Marvel's the only one giving us news.
Yeah, everybody else
DC's still taking the back seat for a little bit. I mean, it's fine.
Yeah, so Marvel's...
Literally, this happens all the time.
Right. And Marvel's kind of coming right out the gate. And the first 2 things we're going to be talking about are kind of weird and pseudo-retro. So let's kind of jump into that and why I call it pseudo-retro. Marvel announced this week they're going to be doing a new limited run series for Spider-Man. And it's going to be called the Alien Costume Saga. And one of the people...
So the black suit? So Venom?
It's about the black suit, right?
So it's Venom. It's the symbiote.
This is the symbiote before he discovered that it was an alien, and it basically became the thing that became Venom.
So before it became like self-aware enough to become its own entity of Venom.
Right. So there was a period of time because the costume was never really intended to become Venom at the very beginning. That was a product of the 90s. He got the costume during Secret Wars. He lost his costume. He used an alien machine to get the black costume. And then he just kind of rode that out until it was written into there that it was real.
Yeah.
Like that it was alive. So what they're doing is they're going to go back and they're going to tell some stories that exist during that brief window between him having the black costume and before he finds out that it's an alien.
Okay. Are they going to discuss Spider-Man 3? the movie?
I assume not.
Specifically,
I don't think anybody's ever
doing the
going to-
disco down the streets like thing.
I don't think they're ever
Staying
going
Alive.
to discuss that again. I think we've.
I
written that out
think
of
I think
history.
they actually will put an homage to that in there.
I don't know.
I believe they will.
Put an homage to it and like fucking
Literally everything, because everybody hates that scene so much.
It was like Into the Spider-Verse. They put that in there.
Yes, that's
So
the
this-
reason why. Because everybody hates that scene. It's so bad.
Yeah, so this is like a really cool, interesting concept to see what they're going to do with it. They of course want to tackle some things that never got tackled before. Like Mysterio was never factored into those stories back in the day.
Yeah.
He was kind of such a low budget villain. They didn't really bother with him. Now like, oh yeah, we're gonna like stick a
Do you think that's I think it's a product because Mysterio is going to be in the new movie, or
I would like to say no, and that Mysterio is just a cool enough villain that they want to go ahead and go in a cool direction with
I
him.
would like to feel that too, because I always thought Mysterio was a cool villain. Some reason 90s me thought Mysterio was
I don't know
actually
why I did
interesting.
either. Yeah,
I don't
it's
know
bizarre.
why. I can't give you any single reason why I thought Mysterio was cool. Maybe because he had a cape and a fishbowl head and like smoke everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, he was into movie VFX and
Yeah,
you
and that's
know.
probably why I like the visual effects stuff.
Yeah.
But overall, really bad villain.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I know this is because Mysterio's in the new movie.
Sure,
That's
but I mean
why they're
that's just
doing it,
one of
but-
the issues. But again, this is a limited run series. This is just this is a trade paperbacks worth of Spider-Man stories that explores this period of time.
You know why they're doing it? Spider-Man doesn't have enough comics.
Right? He doesn't have like 15.
He doesn't have a weekly comic book already with other monthly comic books on top of that.
Exactly.
Oh, and then the other versions with other characters playing or other people being Spider-Man.
all the Spider-Verse stuff.
Yeah,
like Gwen,
those-
Spider-Gwen has her own.
Those aren't happening enough to where we need more Spider-Man. And I mean, as a fan of Spider-Man, cool. This is something that's interesting to explore. It's for just purely the fans of Spider-Man.
is, yeah.
And this is for the people who like me for a while, which is like, I'm just gonna pick up Spider-Man. I don't want to pick up anything else. I will buy every issue of all the Spider-Mans, and that's what I'm gonna do. It's
You
for
could
that
literally just
person.
say you're a Spider-Man fan and pick up a book every week and be good.
Yeah,
Or
you don't
two,
have
or
to.
three.
In some cases, like 7, because
Right.
that's what they release sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this is kind of cool. It's a cool story. And limited run, fine. I'm not too worried about it. It's something that I will wait for the trade though.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel the same way.
I feel like it's going to get enough play to where they'll make a trade and I can just order it, or if I have to, if I can't get it at my local store.
So kind of going back into this like weird retro spot that Marvel's in. Of course, we just talked about this going back to the past of Spider-Man. We're going to get really weird here for a second. And I apologize to our audience for how weird we're about to get. We're going to talk about the X-Men. There's a limited run series coming out for the X-Men. Rob Liefeld is working.
Oh, God. You don't really. Do we have to talk? Do we have to say any more? Rob Liefeld and X-Men together equal
So
pockets,
back in 1990,
belts, weird chests, no feet, hands that are weirdly disproportioned.
So back in 1992, I believe it was, Rob Liefeld drew a character that never made it into the continuity of the X-Men. Now, mind you, when
Rob Liefeld's drawn a lot of shit that hasn't made it in the X-Men, thankfully.
Right. So Rob Liefeld, if you're unfamiliar for our audience, of course, he worked on the X-Men for the very long time before he went over to Image Comics. He actually created characters like Deadpool, but not the Deadpool that you know today.
Cable.
Cable's a very important character that he created. A lot of the X-Force of back then was that.
Think 90s super edgy belts and pockets.
Yeah, I mean, it was
And
Wolfsbane. and
bandoliers, aplenty.
Yeah.
Rob Liefeld drew that and wrote that story and did that whole
If it
thing.
had belts and pouches, it had belts and pouches before Kingdom Hearts made them cool again, I guess.
Kingdom Hearts never really made them cool. They were irritating. And like there was like, oh, that costume's really dumb because you've got ginormous shoes, short pants on, and 50,000 belts.
Those are his Jinko shorts, all right.
No, just fucking no.
Okay, so back in 92, Rob Liefeld created this character called Major X. I'm sorry,
I thought it was-
I'm having trouble controlling myself
Yeah,
talking
no.
about
like,
this.
I immediately went to Arrested Development and I was thinking of Mr. X.
Let's
and I
keep-
can only read it as Major X. Like you have to like background people saying the name. You
Right.
can't say it
So
yourself.
Let's just keep this in mind that thank God this is a limited run series, just to put that out there. So Major X is a character who hails from another dimension that's called the Existence, which is a mutant
Oh, that
Shangri-La.
sounds so extreme. It sounds
It's-
extreme.
It's basically a dimension where mutant mutants have lived in peace and harmony instead of all the
Yeah,
shit.
what was
that
it? They had that little. They had their own little country for a little while.
They do.
And it's kind of like that as a whole planet.
Yeah, it's pretty much like that. Yeah.
Okay, so it's the most extreme,
Right.
Literally extreme planet.
To go into more, nothing's more X-Men than that X-Men story discussion we had earlier. So
Oh, this is gonna involve time travel. This is how they bring back every character.
Major X is trying to cross over time and space and messes up. And so he lands in 1991 Marvel Universe.
Okay, see, that makes complete sense on why Rob Liefeld has to be involved in this. Because he wrote and drew all of the 90s. Like, that was Rob Liefeld's prime Marvel years.
Right. So the idea is that he's got this character that he wanted to introduce into the mythos, but basically Marvel said, we're not going to let you do that in modern times because
No one else wants to draw or
the
write
X-Men
that.
are doing a really cool storyline right now, and we really don't need you to like do anything with that. So like, okay, cool. I'm going to drop into 91 with all the roster that I had. And they're like, go for it. You have 6 issues. It's your playground. It exists in the universe that you created. Go.
I like this. This is his like his little prize for the Wolverine or the Deadpool movies doing well. It's like they had to like do something with him because Deadpool did well.
Like, does he not get the idea that while he created the character, like the character that we love is
that's the problem. Like he's like, I created Deadpool, and he showed up at the office. He's like, hey guys, you like that movie that you made out of the thing that I made? And he was like, fuck, he's back.
Right.
And then he's gonna start trying to do shit. He's gonna try to start to do shit. And he keeps throwing out ideas, and they won't let him do anything. And finally comes up with one who's like, I want this character called Master X or what the...
Major
X. Oh, it's so fucking awful. And then he's like, but I'll do it in 1990s X-Men. And they're like, cool. So nothing to do with what we're... Yeah, sure, here, go get... Here's your side prize. Here's your concession prize. Go over there. We're going to go over here and make big boy stories or actual X-Men stories. You're going to have the convoluted, fucked up ridiculousness that is what you created to begin with.
Yeah.
And the reason why most people hate the X-Men.
That is very true. Let's see. Our last little bit of comic book news for the week is about the first big crossover of the year, but not crossover.
In a year where they said they're not doing crossover.
No. Well, that was last year. But this crossover is not... what we're used to from Marvel. So when we think crossover events from Marvel or DC, we think about things like Crisis on Infinite Earths, or we think about things like Civil War, where like
it's big,
you've got to
buy everything.
Gotta buy every.
It's ever with DC. I think about the fun little like DC meets Hanna-Barbera stuff. Is it's a crossover. And it's just for funs and sillies. DC's gotten that locked down. Marvel hasn't quite figured out how to do the fuck it, let's just have one for funs and sillies.
Well, so this is pretty interesting. So it was announced this week that they're doing a comic called War of the Realms. And the fun thing about this is it is a series that is a crossover in the scope of something like Civil War, where there will be lots of other comics that kind of tie into it. But unlike those ones where you have to buy 5 million comics for the crossover.
Yeah. My long boxes are over there yelling in pain with the shit that I don't even I read once.
Right.
Because it was a crossover and I bought that issue.
Only a handful of comics are going to cross over to this War of the Realms story. Which, by the way, fun fact about this story, it actually started like about 6 years ago. The writer started putting the seeds in place for this particular storyline. And so this story is going to started in the pages of Thor. This is part about Malekith.
It sounds like a Thor, really.
Right.
The name alone.
Yeah, so Malekith, you know him. Most of you would probably know him from the second Thor movie, the Dark Elf. Is trying to do like a conquest of Earth, and of course, people are going to try and stop him. That's the basic byline of what's going on here.
Literally the definition of every single crossover event. Somebody's trying to invade. We're all going to stop them.
Right. So instead of this encompassing every single Marvel comic, what they're doing is select comics are going to cross over with this particular storyline. Basically, people that it's relevant to, like for whatever reason, the Punisher is going to cross over into this storyline. But it is a single issue crossover.
Well, it has
when
war
it
in the title, so Punisher has to show up.
That is true. That I think he actually is got a contract.
It's in his contract as a character of Marvel that if war is in the title,
Like,
Punisher's
I'm
there to do some
Right.
shooting of things.
Right. So again, what I'm kind of getting at with this crossover is this isn't a massive, like, global spanning crossover. The things that happen within it will affect certain things in the Marvel universe, but it's not like I have to go out and buy 500 comics this week because it's crossing
This
over.
isn't like the death of fucking Frank Castle, and
Right.
this is going to like forever alter the Marvel
8
universe.
comics that cross over, and basically, if you're a Punisher reader for 1 month out of that 12 that you read, it's the crossover issue. That's it.
Yeah.
It's just a footnote. It's a hiccup. It's not requiring
It's a blip on the story that you're reading. It's fine.
And to me, that makes a better crossover story because not only does it make it easier on us readers who go out week to week to buy comics, but it also makes it easier, A, to combine all of them into a single trade paperback.
Yes.
Right? Because trying to read all of Civil War in a trade paperback doesn't happen because there was just way too many books.
There's too much extraneous bullshit that didn't make any sense
Right.
if you didn't read the issues before and after that Civil War issue.
Exactly. And the second part of this is that, and this is just me kind of rallying for the writers that work in the comics industry, this really doesn't inconvenience them that much. Okay, so when you think about it, you're a comic book writer. Say, Tony, you write Spider-Man. There are two...
I'd be the worst Spider-Man writer.
You probably would. Yes, absolutely. 100% agree that you
It would just be a lot of jerking off jokes.
It would be. So you have two different types of storylines, two different types of crossovers that you can choose from. You have one, which is the Civil War style crossover, which means for the next 12 months,
The entire year, all of your characters are fucked and doing one story.
doing that thing. Or they come up and say, hey, we're doing this crossover. We'd like Spider-Man to be a part of it. He only needs to be in there for an issue. Now, you're in the middle of writing a big 12-issue arc, but maybe you could push that arc back by a month.
Yeah, like, can you just give us like a window, and we'll just put our issue in that. We'll tell you what leads in, why we need him, so why Spider-Man has to go away for like 2 seconds.
Right. So, I mean, like, this really does benefit the writers, who I always definitely advocate for. The idea that, you know, it really doesn't inconvenience them. Yes, they get to be part of a cool event, and it maybe gives them a month break from that crazy storyline that they were writing and cooking up in the back of their head. But again, it makes it where you can have a mini event. I guess that's what we should call it, a mini event, and still make the Marvel Universe feel connected because everybody gets to hang out with Thor for 5 minutes, but not really ruin anybody's day by the end of it.
So this is posing an idea that, or like a kind of a question, a thought, something that's, you know, my brain cooks up something from this. Whenever Marvel or DC or anybody does a crossover event, it's always heralded as this big, earth-shattering, characters will change their forever.
The Spider-Man that you know will change at the end of the story.
Like people will be shaken to their core,
right?
And then at the end of every event, nothing really important happens.
It's like the worst,
like there's been a couple of
deaths. It's like the weakest orgasm.
It's jerking off in a cup to make sure that your balls work. That's the kind of orgasm you're having.
Right.
It's more of out of fear, I guess.
Is this so functional?
So these mini events, you know, going into this, nothing in the universe will change. Which is kind of like, why I get why. I mean, you're telling us a cool story, but
things will
at
change.
the end of the day, it's kind of like, man, you told us a cool story, but just interrupted some other cool shit.
But the thing is that
do we really need that?
Things will change for the main title that's been working up to this event for 6 years.
Okay.
This is something that will change Thor's title. This is something that will change the Asgardians of the Galaxy title that's currently being written. All right.
All I'm imagining is they're going to get a really like annoying jester character to show up. That's literally all I'm thinking happens.
So these titles will be primarily affected by it. But writing in like the X-Men issues that they're going to have or the Punisher issue that they're going to have, this really just kind of expands the universe out a little bit. It says like, yes, these events do affect other people, but it doesn't have to be something that like the X-Men are changing tomorrow. Because right now, by the way, X-Men are going through some shit. They're going through like some House of M level bullshit in the comics. So like, this is basically like a spring break for them.
Every 3 years, the X-Men go through some House of M level bullshit,
right?
Because it's their fucking crossover event. No, it just seems to me like it's the futility of crossover events.
Sure,
they're kind of like, oh, they're fun and cute, no matter how big or small they are, but they're completely arbitrary because nothing in the comic books universe is ever really going to change. I mean, how many times is Wolverine going to come back? All of it. How many times is Jean Grey gonna come back? All of them. How many times is fucking Bruce Wayne gonna come back? All of them. It's fucking, it's, you know what's gonna eventually happen.
Yeah.
So doing a crossover event to cause the thing is kind of like,
we
meh,
as
whatever.
comic book fans,
Maybe I'm just burned out.
the day that we became disillusioned was like the month after Superman died. Like if you had to pick a focal point in time, like when did we become disillusioned about death in comics? You go, that was it.
Actually, no, that kind of makes complete sense, because this week I watched Rise of the Superman, which is the new DC animated story about, you know, it's right after the death of Superman.
Yeah.
Which this is the Return of Superman story, which is the Rise of the Superman.
Yeah.
I didn't watch the Death of Superman, which they did animate before this, but I just didn't watch it because I just hadn't gotten around to it yet. And I was sitting there bored, and I was like, fuck it, I'll watch Rise of the Superman. It's gonna be fucking awful. I know it's going to be. And I watched it and went, oh fuck, they even gave him the mullet at the fucking end. Oh god damn it, why'd they do this? And it just made me angry at it. It made me angry at comic books again, because how fucking stupid that story is.
Say what you want about The Walking Dead reusing old storylines, and I'm talking about the comics specifically, not the TV show.
I figured.
You know, the one thing that The Walking Dead that kept people coming back to The Walking Dead was the fact that death is permanent.
Yeah, no, there's no Coral, like, doesn't, I mean, the only way to like come back is a zombie,
right?
At which point,
I mean, yes, there's coming back in the
there's
Walking
coming
Dead.
back, but you're not talking. You're just going to eat people.
Yeah,
that's it.
I mean, a lot of comic book fans, and even those of us who are like long-term like Spider-Man readers, or you know, honestly, when you think about it in terms of Spider-Man, and I don't want to rant too long about this, one of the things that we really liked about things like Into the Spider-Verse and specifically Ultimate Spider-Man is that things changed. Right?
Yeah,
Peter Parker got
deviation.
older. Yeah,
and
Peter Parker got
good.
older. Peter Parker died. Like there was a handoff that happened, and comics are so afraid to do that, to evolve and to jump and to do those things. I mean, that's one of the reasons we have time travel in the X-Men that makes everything so convoluted.
So you can keep every character alive, so they'll always be around.
Right, and that's the thing is that...
So for some reason, they can always be teenagers at whatever year this is.
Like, the death of Jean Grey was a big deal when it happened back in the day because she stayed dead for a fucking while. Like, it was a thing.
Finally.
Like, it was like the original, like, before she became Dark Phoenix and all that shit.
Yeah.
Like, she died. And people are like, fuck, we lost an X-Men. We lost one of the original X-Men. This is fucked. And I think that comics really should take that bold step and be willing to, you know, go down that extra road and say these characters get older, they evolve, they die.
Honestly, I think this is why I enjoy the films more, because they're so more finite. And maybe that's the reason why I'm worried about Endgame, is because I have a feeling that they're just going to bring everybody back to life. And I don't want that. I want there to be true consequences, because you know what? I'm still on the side that fucking Thanos was right. Movie Thanos was right, not comic book Thanos. Yeah. And I think that the film universe is more interesting because it is more in its infancy, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And the comic books, all these events and these mini events and these bringing characters back has just gotten me so fucking burned out.
Yeah.
And it's entirely Superman's fault.
It is entirely
much
Superman's
like everything else. It's always Superman's fault.
All right, that's everything we have for comic book news this week. We're going to take a small break. When we come back, we'll be going to level 2 video game news.
Yeah, it didn't really occur to me until you mentioned the Death and Return of Superman. I was like, fuck, I watched Rise of Superman, and that made me mad about this. And that's why I
really feel like that's the definitive moment that we became disillusioned, because DC let us hold on to the illusion that Superman was dead for like a month or two, and then they're like, we're also going to be doing the thing is, we didn't know Superman was coming back. There was the Rise of the Supermen, and the idea behind it was there are 4 possible
who's going to replace Superman,
right? And that was the whole thing. And then at the very end of it,
they totally changed one of the characters in
did they?
In the Rise of Superman. Because one of them was supposed to be like stupidly religious or whatever. They were supposed to be the one that's like super Jesus-y on all his reasons for like killing people.
The Eradicator?
Yes. Except for the Eradicator is just a program that's running in the background to protect Kal-El while he's inside.
That was the original story. Yeah.
That was, but they didn't give him the weird Jesus-y thing of it.
I'll bust those comics out and show you. They do make him a little Jesus-y.
The comics do it. They don't do it in the animation.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm saying, is they got rid of that story.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of wondering, is that because time changed, or they were just trying to not piss people off?
That's true.
And that's the one thing.
That's weird, because
if that's the one thing that the comic books got right, was pissing people off and showing them religion is dumb, then I'm super on board with it. But the fact they got rid of it in the animated version was them just, why would you change it?
a strong part of Superman's character of like what happens if people worship him as a messiah.
Yeah.
And that was a big part of what the comic story was like, you know, he's basically came down and he's like, I'm the essence of Kal-El, and then he even proves that he's like, you know, he's like, Lois, I'm Clark, really, but I'm not anymore. Like I've
changed, I've grown, I've become,
evolved.
I've literally become a larger being.
Right, and the whole
Because he's a fucking alien. We don't know what the fuck happens when he dies.
And so that was the whole point of it was like, what happens when people, you know, accept him as a deity, and what, you know, what's the reaction of the general populace when all that goes down?
Honestly, that's a way more interesting Superman story. If he dies and because he's an alien, he literally can resurrect like Doctor Who shit.
Right.
But he gets even more powerful, and you're like, you already had godlike powers before, and you I don't know, you dripped all over your keyboard, I think. Yeah, the condensation.
Condensation.
I just want to make sure nothing was fried or whatever. That to me is a way more interesting story about the humanity's reaction to now a previously you thought unkillable died, then resurrected, and is now truly unkillable
Like,
deity
literally.
that is saving and protecting you, but also at the same time enslaved. Again, Superman is evil and needs to be gone. All right, I'm gonna grab a beer and then I'll switch.
You grab your cider. All right, so video games. Yeah, we're gonna launch off talking about Mortal Kombat.
Cool. The game I know nothing about aside from it's called 11 and
It's
coming out soon.
Mortal Kombat, so I mean, you don't really need to worry about a coherent storyline with Mortal Kombat.
Things I do have to note: ridiculous switching between different combat styles on characters to be able to do ridiculous ass combos, because that got really old really fucking fast.
Oh, I remember that. I don't know if that's still a
They
thing or
did that in,
not.
like 3 games, and I fucking hated it. Like, it was fun at first, but after a while, you're like, I can't remember all of this.
Right. Yeah, that seems a little bit overly complicated. But I haven't really read much about the combat system in Mortal Kombat yet. I don't know if they're keeping with multiple fighting styles, if they're just limiting it down to one.
I'm hoping they go back to
Oh, Brooklyn, you're there. Why don't you
literally
answer the question
for
first?
cider.
Yeah, please.
Okay. I'm just gonna take all the rest of that.
Yeah, because I don't know. It's been a while since I played a Mortal Kombat game. I heard 10 was really good, but I was too busy. I was too busy playing Injustice.
10 was the Injustice fighting.
Brooklyn, the question is, will Mortal Kombat 11 have multiple fighting styles per character, or are they limiting it down to just one fighting style? Tony, yeah, the way that it originally was. Tony was curious about that because he said that he felt that the multiple combat styles per character was hindering the series.
I just made the fucking... That's the wrong one.
So variations in the sense that you can switch mid-combat, or that you choose a variation before the combat starts? Because there's a difference between like variations,
Custom variations.
Interesting.
Okay. That's
All
yeah. I would actually need to look more into that before I
that seems
talked
a little
about
more.
it.
That seems a little bit more
But
complicated.
no, there was one in Mortal Kombat where you had each character had 3 different fighting styles.
Yeah.
And you had to start a combo in one, switch to another one, do the combo in that, switch to
so
another one.
specifically variation before combat. So they have a fighting style that you choose before.
Okay.
That's a lot more logical.
That makes the game actually not seem like the. It's still closer to like 10.
Yeah.
And to Injustice.
Oh, interesting. You have slots and a pool of moves that have slot values. So it's like a site.
As long as it's not like a
like
graveyard
assigning points in a
knockout
war
system.
game, basically.
Yeah, I just don't want it to be like you have to unlock the moves by gaining points by fighting things to unlock break the tombstones to get the moves or the artwork or whatever, because you don't know what it is unless you go up and look online and tells you what the system is.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. Cool.
I can see that.
That's not a bad idea. All right, let's jump in and talk about Mortal Kombat then.
Okay. I mean, I'm gonna try and stay away from this stuff because these are things I don't know enough about at the time. So, but there's base variation. Okay.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense.
I like the idea of the customability of that, but I want to talk about this before we get into the fighting game community. I don't see getting behind that completely because that just seems kind of overly complicated and arbitrary.
Will there be variants that break?
Yeah.
Like, can you go to Evo with your custom variant and you're just like, that's just I don't know. It's weird.
Okay, and there's the devs made ones for use at tournaments.
Oh, okay, so there's a tournament style one. That's good.
Okay, that'd be cool. They're like, no, this is Scorpion's tournament standard locked tournament style, tournament settings.
No one will customize a character before a fight. That's perfect.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Because that's the thing I wouldn't want was like somebody be like, I'm going to customize this, this, and this. And you're like, cool, I don't know what I'm fighting. Oh, look, he just put teleport into everything and I can't fucking
Yeah, like
touch
when I
him.
play Soul Calibur, like I'm like I want to play Soul Calibur with like the default values for everything, but then you'll go online and play Soul Calibur and somebody will have their like wacky ass custom character and I'm like I don't want that bullshit. Like
Yeah, no,
just
that
bring your
sounds-
fucking character and weapon to the arena. Like don't fucking I don't need MC Hammer fighting me when I'm playing competitive or some bullshit. Like yeah, that's just my mini rant about that.
I was just imagining the teleportation character just like, and now hearing it, like, can't touch this in my head. It's now a thing. Okay, that sounds way cooler. Level 2, video game news.
Hey, Adventures, welcome back to the show. All right, we got a ton of video game stuff to talk about this week, so let's jump right in talking about what's been on everybody's mind, really, and that was the news announcement about Mortal Kombat 11. So, Mortal Kombat 11 was announced, and there was much rejoicing. They did a serious hype campaign. They got people that played at EVO to come out. I think it was in Los Angeles. Of course, reporters came out. We found out tons of information about this game. By the way, I just want to go on record and say that Mortal Kombat is that franchise. I was always a Street Fighter guy, not a Mortal Kombat guy.
Except for I was the opposite. I liked
except for Mortal Kombat 1 and 2. 1 and 2 I played so
I mean, that's just like up there in the halls of like fighting game history is like some of the like two of the best fighting games.
I was there for Mortal Monday. That was a thing that happened in my life. With that in mind, though, I never really thought that Mortal Kombat would grow and evolve the way that it did. I know Street Fighter's kind of evolved over time. Now we've kind of regressed a little bit. And gone back
Mortal
to the old
Kombat
school
has been more like a Jackson Pollock painting. It's kind of been all the fuck over the place.
You know what, though? I have respect for Mortal Kombat for
they
that.
They try new things more than anybody else.
Yeah, like every time they make a new Mortal Kombat game, they're like, all right, so we'll try 5 things, and if one of them sticks, we'll carry that over to the next game.
Yeah, no, there's been like storyline ones that are purely story-driven, and you play like one character. There's been ridiculous RPG things. There's been some just ones I tried to. I think I blacked out memories of because they were so awful.
I believe, if I remember this correctly, I actually owned a CD way back in the day before the Mortal Kombat movie ever came out. All right, that was just the techno remix of the Mortal Kombat song, and I only had like 4 tracks and 4 variants of it. That's how into Mortal Kombat I was.
Yeah.
Like, that was a thing that happened.
I remember hearing this, not from you, because we didn't know each other when that came out. I lived in a different state, and I still knew those songs.
Yep. All right, so what do we need to know about Mortal Kombat 11? What has everybody so hyped about it? Well, first off, it was announced it's going to
10 was amazing, and that's why everybody's hyped for the next one.
Right, so April 2019 is the date.
Right around the corner.
Like, literally, they did an event and said, yeah, by the way, like a couple months.
That was the announcement of we're having it, like, here's the trailer, which they did at the games
the award show.
Award show, yeah. I can't remember what the actual awards are called. Video Game Awards.
Yes,
I forgot.
That's what
I forgot that's what they were called. I thought that maybe they were called like the Sellies or something like that. I don't fucking know. When they showed off the trailer there, and they're like, by the way, we're inviting people out to come do this thing, and we'll tell you the release date soon. Yep. And that soon was the release date is actually very soon.
Yeah.
And everybody's kind of blown away. Like, I don't follow Mortal Kombat to get all the leaked information or whatever, but it seems like to me, I never saw anything leak about this. I mean, I knew eventually there'd be another Mortal Kombat.
The biggest leak that we really had online about Mortal Kombat 11 was somebody leaked Mortal Kombat 11's coming. And they're like...
And the community literally went, duh.
Guess we can confirm that it's happening?
Yeah, like, like, to me, that's all I knew. I knew after 10, I was like, we'll get 11 in a couple of years.
Sure.
And... ta-da, 11's in a couple of years.
So Brooklyn in chats kind of leads into my next point, actually. So Mortal Kombat 11 apparently has 25 characters total that we've got. So a lot of the favorites are, of course, back. You see, Sub-Zero, Scorpion. Is it Ronda Rousey is her name? Is the voice of Sonya Blade in this?
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So
that's I like Sonya. Sonya was always fun.
Yeah, Kano, who's an old favorite of mine from Mortal Kombat 1. I saw Baraka in one of the videos. Baraka was a personal favorite of mine back in the MK2 days. Huge fan of that. We're hearing that as a pre-order bonus, you'll get Shao Kahn. So I don't know.
See, that kind of pisses me off.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to have to pre-order a game to unlock a character and if they can allow me to buy that character, that's still kind of annoying. Like, I paid for the game. You made the character for the game, and you're literally locking content away from me.
We don't know the full details of it yet. So let's just go ahead and ride that out.
I don't know about that fully, but that is my. I hate pre-ordering shit because this is a game that I wasn't going to pre-order. Much like Anthem, I was not going to pre-order this game.
Right.
It's a game that I was going to pick up at some point and play.
Yeah.
And if they're doing like there's the only way to get Shere Khan is to pre-order, and I'm like, fuck, I want to play him, but I'm not going to pre-order. I can't bring myself to do it anymore. That's true,
but I'm sure that there'll be some way to unlock them. We'll figure that out as more information. This was just the like basic information they gave out just over the last week.
We still have a little bit of time.
Yeah.
They've still got time to give us this information. It's not
right, because I mean, like, but there's also rumors abound about this game. Like Todd McFarlane apparently went online and basically like said, I don't know, Spawn might show up in this game.
That is possible. Actually, no, wait. That was not possible because that was a completely different game franchise.
That was Soul Calibur.
That was Soul Calibur. So no, I confused Soul Calibur and Spawn for a second. I was like, wait, Spawn was in that. No, he wasn't. He was in the other one.
Yeah. So there's going to be new characters, obviously. A bunch of the favorites are going to be there. I think the one that's actually got the fighting game community the most kind of entranced is this new character, and I don't have his name in my notes, but he's a character that can control time, I believe. Like, how does that factor into a fighting game?
How could time travel work within a fighting game?
Thank you, Brooklyn. His name is Garrus. Is his name
Garros,
one of the two. But yeah, he can manipulate time as part of his fighting moveset. This could be either really cool or like the most broken thing in the world.
That sounds really annoying. I don't like this idea.
It could be really annoying either way.
I don't like somebody being like, oh, that was a great uppercut you just did. Let me reverse that, heal myself, and then like block it. No, fuck you. You don't get to do... Even if they got to do that once per match, fuck you.
So, according to Brooklyn, he has moves that can add or subtract time from the round clock. That's interesting.
Okay, that is kind of cool, because there's always been that... We've all been playing Mortal Kombat or any fighting game, and we've gotten to that point where you're like, motherfucker, I'm waiting on the time to count down and just blocking all these hits because I have more health than they do.
Right.
And if you could just be like, do this one move and like, and 10 seconds are gone and the game's over. Fuck yes, I would love the hell out of that. But at the same time, for combat play, that character is literally going to be disqualified instantly. Its character cannot be allowed in,
that is true.
In like Evo play.
So we're going to only briefly touch on this. Brooklyn's kind of been educating us as we've been doing the show live today. Apparently
live on twitch.tv/SoNerd about 7:30 Central.
There you go. There are several move sets for characters. There is character customization that will be available within the game. However, apparently when it comes to tournaments, there's going to be a set tournament move set that you have to use. So if you're going to Evo, you've got to play this particular type of move set when you're going into it, which is great because Mortal Kombat is, part of the fighting game community. And,
I'm sorry, he just told us the bad guy's name.
Oh, okay.
Kronika. And it's a time-based bad guy. And I'm just like,
oh, that's...
I'm like, Kronika, either you about pot or time. Oh,
I think
cool.
Rob Liefeld wrote this character, actually.
Yeah, no, little bit too on the fucking nose.
First female antagonist in the franchise history. So that'll be interesting. I mean, there's a lot of cool things about it. Honestly, you know when I fell back in love with Mortal Kombat as a franchise, most people would say like Mortal Kombat 10 is when they kind of fell back in love with it. Mine was playing Injustice, actually.
Yeah, no, whenever Injustice came out, I went and I was playing it with friends.
Yeah.
And my immediate reaction was fuck, I love Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
Even when they're just DC characters. Mortal Kombat's amazing as DC characters.
Yeah, like I had not played a Mortal Kombat game in years, and then we played Injustice. And
the storyline was awesome as fuck.
And I was like, fuck, man. Like, I remember loving Mortal Kombat. I was that kid who sat at my Genesis. Yes, I played it on the Genesis. That was a superior console for Mortal Kombat.
Genesis was a far superior system.
And I just sat there and I loved every day I had Super Street Fighter 2 and Mortal Kombat on my Genesis. And every day I would play hours of both of them over and over and over again. And it was hard to recapture that love for Mortal Kombat because I had fallen out of it after like 3, I believe. And then playing Injustice, I was like, fuck, I do remember loving Mortal Kombat. This has brought me back to that. And I actually meant to play Mortal Kombat 10. I feel like now I'm going to come back in and I'm probably going to give it a shot.
All right, so there was a sale recently on, at least on Xbox, and they had Mortal Kombat 10 for like $12.
Yeah.
And it was the base game. It wasn't all the extra characters. It didn't have like Ninja Turtles and stuff. Mm-hmm. And they had the Ninja Turtle one for like 25 so every character in the game for like $25. And I just was like, I know I need to pay the gas bill. I don't need to buy $25 worth of game. I'm just not going to do it. Especially because this game I'm not going to play that often.
Right.
Like if it was,
But you would love to have that. You would love
if
to
it
have
was
that
up for a free weekend, I would play the fuck out of it on a
If
free
it was
weekend.
down to like $5-10, you'd be like, yeah, I'd drop it.
Yeah, and at this point, 10 has been out long enough. I mean, the point where they on a sale went down to like $12.50 or whatever. I really just should have bought the game.
Yeah.
But it's a game that like,
You would like to have all the expansion stuff and
Yeah, the thing is, I want to play as the fucking Ninja Turtles. I want to play as fucking Hellboy. I want to play as all these extra characters. And no, wait, was it Injustice or? I'm forgetting which one that Ninja Turtles and Hellboy were added on to. One of them, either Injustice 2 or I think it was probably Injustice 2 is the one I'm thinking was on sale, not 10.
Yeah, maybe. All right, so let's go ahead and move on from Mortal Kombat.
Bad news.
Bad news. Why are you doing this? Why are you ruining our audience?
Oh, so it was $9 this last weekend. I totally fucking missed out.
Yep.
I knew I saw a fucking sale.
So let's talk a little bit about EA, and let's talk a little bit about Star Wars.
You mean the company that doesn't make Star Wars games?
They've had the license
They announce
for a long
a
time.
shitload of them.
They really do. They've announced so many Star Wars games.
More people are getting paid to make games that never come out from Star Wars and EA than any games company in the industry.
Right. So we knew that there was an open world Star Wars game going on over at EA Vancouver. We found out as of this week, RIP, man, like they canceled it.
Oh, imagine that. Another Star Wars game that were actually interested got canceled.
Yep. And it's
I guess we're just going to make it a Battlefield or Battlefront or
Gonna
whatever
have
the
to
fuck
do that.
the Star Wars battle
Battlefront.
games are.
Yeah, it was this weird thing because this is one of the Star Wars games we were kind of super excited about, and we were like, "Oh, this looks really good, and it's going to be open world, and maybe it's not going to be Jedi focused." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm all about any Star Wars game that isn't Jedi focused."
Is this like is this the one that was we canceled 1313, but we're just going to steal a bunch of shit to make this other game?
I don't know if it's that or if it's Jedi Fallen Order. So there is another Star Wars EA project that's being
Again,
worked
this
on.
is the company that makes an endless number of games that have never been released.
Right, but Jedi Fallen Order is being done by Respawn Entertainment, the guys who make Titanfall.
Mm-hmm.
So they kind of have the license, and they're allowed to
I'm
just
calling
make it.
Titanfall 3 at this E3, by the way.
think so?
I'm calling a teaser trailer for Titanfall 3.
A teaser, not just a flat
Not
out
a
it's
full,
coming
not
out.
a full coming out because I think it's going to be on the next gen consoles. I've been thinking about Titanfall 3 recently for some reason because I've never played the games, but for some reason I keep
They're
thinking
so
about
much fun.
Titanfall. I know. I think it's because we have one sitting on the fucking counter and it's wrapped and I can't play it because it's wrapped.
You could just go. You just come into my room and be like, "Can I borrow that Titanfall disc you have?"
wanna
Like,
play
yes, go fucking do it.
And I saw it and I was like, Titanfall 3 is about to be announced. And I was like, we're not going to show a full trailer. We're just going to get a teaser because that's going to be a next generation console. So you heard it here first.
Titanfall 3.
Titanfall 3, weird prediction in my brain.
All right, so they've canceled this open world Star Wars game over at EA Vancouver that looked fucking amazing. Now we've heard that Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order from Respawn is going to be coming out, mostly because that is a Respawn title, not a EA title. I'm just wondering, like, what the heck is going on in the world of EA where they've got this amazing license and are just like afraid to pull the trigger on what they're doing? Like, there has to be like something behind the scenes where they're just like afraid. It's like, are we at Valve with like the number 3 all over again? Are we just afraid to like,
No, I think that, all right, so for one, they're held super accountable to Disney at this point.
Right. After Battlefront 2.
After Battlefront 2 and the kerfuffle that was that, and Battlefront 1, that did not do that great. Like, everybody was like, fuck you, you want to charge me $150 for the entire thing. And then they announced, it's $60 and you get everything. Everybody rejoiced. We're like, fuck this, it's the opposite. You made the changes. And then they went and said, but by the way, everything's hidden behind microtransactions and you can never earn anything in-game because it would just take way too fucking long.
Yeah.
And everybody fucking hated them again. So it's 2 games in a row that everybody's like, fuck you. And behind the scenes, they've canceled game after game because that was whenever the license that EA has with Star Wars, but Star Wars got bought by Disney, and a lot of those games got canceled because the Star Wars game franchise started getting handled by the Disney game developers. They'd made a whole separate property that makes Star Wars
And then they
games
stopped
within
doing
Disney.
that.
Then they stopped doing that, and then they put more focus on the EA stuff and other developers to allow more people than just EA to have it. And it's gotten so... I'm literally explaining the history of our podcast because all this has happened since we've started doing this show.
That is true.
And I'm trying to remember all of these stupid times we've talked about Star Wars doing something fucking dumb in the video game industry. And at this point, it's the cancellation of really cool games.
Yeah.
Really cool, interesting ideas that would make even if they weren't Star Wars games, cool fucking ideas that are being ripped away from us as
You know
gamers.
what makes me saddest about this is I was reading a little bit about Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, which it's being done by Respawn. Obviously,
Respawn's good.
I respect them as a developer. However, the storyline itself is a story that takes place between episodes 3 and 4, is where it falls into the canon of all of this.
I'm sorry, I just don't really.
No, it's fine. I don't mind. I don't care about the
We've
timeline.
seen that timeline.
I don't care about that specific timeline. But it's specifically about, from what I understand, is about a Jedi who's trying to escape Order 66, which is the Kill All Jedi Order.
Yeah.
Which is on the surface a really cool concept. I just think that if I had gotten a game that was not Jedi focused between that, I would want this game more. But every Star Wars game has to be a Jedi game. And
You know what would be really cool?
Why?
All right, so they added this stupid fucking midichlorian bullshit in the fucking movies, right? And we know that if you have a high midichlorian count, you're gonna be a fucking Jedi or Sith or whatever. You're gonna be Force adept.
Yeah.
And it would be really cool to play a character who does, even though I really fucking hate missions where you have to constantly take care of a fucking like
escort missions.
Escort missions suck, except for whenever they're done great, as in games like
Last of Us.
a game that is nothing but a fucking escort mission.
But so good.
Why don't we have a Star Wars like game that is a bounty hunter who picks up a bounty and it's like to kill off this fucking Jedi or his possible future Jedi?
Oh yeah, like a kid, like a
little
youngling.
kid, like a youngling, but it was never part of the Jedi Order because it wasn't strong enough.
That's a good concept.
And then you have to like take him through all of this entire thing of Coruscant, going from level 1313. Notice
yeah.
I'm just kind of taking
Even
most of the
think
plot line
about
for
like the
1313
last
at this point.
cutscene of the game, like you're fighting the final boss, and like he finally is like this like dark Jedi. He's got you like pinned to the ground with a lightsaber, and all of a sudden like the kid's powers awaken, and he's the one. Oh my god, I can picture. I am writing the script for you right now.
It would be amazing.
Sony Santa
And
Monica, please make.
unfortunately,
this game.
Sony doesn't have the
I
rights
know.
to Star Wars, and if they did, holy fuck, they would win the fuck out of the next console generation.
Right?
I'm sorry, just hands down. You had like, by the way, only Star Wars games are coming out on Sony. You're like, fuck, I'm kind of gonna switch over.
sounds
There's
so
some
good.
Star Wars games that actually no, they wouldn't win because they never release fucking Star Wars games, and when they do, they fucking suck.
All right, so let's move on to our last topic for video game news this
EA
week.
is-
Let's talk about happy things. Let's just.
We had great ideas.
Happy place.
Disney, call us. We got great ideas for
Right?
Star
I have
Wars.
so many
At least for the
great
video
ideas.
games.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about Halo. I've actually got two news articles kind of rolled into one for this week.
One's gonna be aiming, I'm guessing.
Right, so one of them is the fact that this last week, the Master Chief Collection got a giant upgrade. A game that came out, what, 4 or 5 years ago?
Okay, I'm gonna hold you for a note for that.
Okay.
This is in the last 3 months the second giant upgrade to the Halo Master Chief Collection.
Right.
The one just at the end of last year, I think it was November, was like a 60 gig download.
Yeah.
It completely fucking updated the game's like graphics, gameplay, audio, connections, everything. It was like it was literally like the entire game size just redone to fix the game further. And the one you're talking about right now is they've changed the aim assist, specifically in Halo 1 and more specifically Halo 2, to make it a modern-esque aiming system.
Right.
The aiming system that exists in like 4 and 5 and pretty much every other first-person shooter that's existed for the past couple of years.
Yeah.
Because 2 is fucking old.
But here's
And
a
needed
game that was released like 4 years ago
Yes.
and has gotten giant patches and iterations
Over and over
like,
again.
Like seriously, one of my boys over at the Lone Star Vanguard Noodles just went to a Halo tournament, a Halo 3 tournament.
They've got a huge amount of press because we was like, you're playing Halo 3?
Right.
Yeah,
There was
everybody,
something like-
the internet went like, wait, what?
there was something like 128 teams that like competed in this
Yeah,
thing.
it was ridiculous.
And it was just, it was amazing to see the fact there's this resurgence of Halo.
Right, so this game came out 4 years ago.
Right.
And no game outside of like MMO stuff has gotten this kind of updates or these many updates this long into its life cycle to make, because when the Master Chief Collection came out, it was a flaming pile of shit that was broken and did not work. I mean, you could play the base storylines, you could eventually maybe play a PvP game if it was working that day.
Yeah.
Since then, when I get on the Master Chief Collection, the storyline modes are even better than they used to be. The PvP has gotten even better than it used to, and they've giving all this away for free.
Yeah.
That is the one thing that everybody, the biggest thing is like, I got the game when it first came out, so I got Halo ODST to come with it.
Yeah.
And they later added Reach, and they got Reach for free. They've added everything else that wasn't 5 into the game.
Yeah.
And they were like, nope, we're giving it all to you. Here you go. And I thought that was kind of enough because it was a broken game. And they're like, here you go. We're just concession prizes.
Right.
4 years later, they're still making massive improvements to the Master Chief Collection to make it a actually competitive game environment for FPS players.
So I have a couple theories about that, but I'll talk about that in just a second.
Okay.
Right? The second part of the news for Halo is that the Bonnie Ross, who is the head of 343, came out very candidly this week and said basically we fucked up.
Yeah.
Like straight up said when it came to the Master Chief Collection, we were new to Halo. We were basically grabbing the pieces of Bungie and trying to fit them together.
Yeah, no, it was
it
was like the 10% of Bungie employees that stayed with Microsoft.
Yeah.
And because they were like, Microsoft's like, hey, we'll pay you this much if you just want to keep working on Halo. And then some people said, yeah, I like working on Halo. And they stuck around. But they unfortunately had to hire a shitload of people that were not the lore masters that Bungie had created, because they're the ones that created the story. They went to work on other things or leave the company entirely. Actually, they all left the company entirely.
Now that he's admitted their faults, which is great to hear, right? I love when a developer is willing to man up to it. Like,
they said that the Master Chief Collection was broken.
Yeah.
And that they've been doing, like I said before, with great strides to make it what it should be.
So,
and then 4 and 5, they said those are not the stories that the Halo universe deserves.
Right. And so the internet's been kind of begging the question, why keep continuously updating the Master Chief Collection and not do a reissue? Why not just carve over all of it and call it a day and say we're going to remake it from the ground up?
Master Chief Collection 2.0 or
2.0, right? So this, for our longtime listeners, this comment is for y'all. Oftentimes on the show over the last year, we've been talking about these strides that Microsoft is making in their marketplace and how they're going to try and compete with Steam instead of competing with Sony and things like that. What they're doing in the Master Chief Collection is a direct reflection of that. Instead of saying we're just going to reissue and relaunch, let's take Square Enix, for example. They reissue Final Fantasy 3 a million times.
Dude, 7 has literally come out, I think, 70,000 times.
Instead of doing that, they're saying, let's take this one product, let's invest money in it. Let's make it perfect so that people will want to buy it because it's going to be on our marketplace forever.
And
we
also,
want to make the
we're
one
going to
thing
make
perfect.
it to where because that was one of the things they did this winter was if you have the monthly Game Pass, you've got the Master Chief Collection. You have all of it. You have Halo 1 through 4. Guess what? You're missing one game.
Yeah.
That's it. You can play everything of Halo right here. Have fun. Go for it. And that's why they have to. That's one of the reasons why they have to keep making it better, is because it's in that.
But that's what I'm saying is that
that monthly
the mentality of 99% of developers out there is to just recreate
Ship
and
it and quit it.
reissue. Right? Okay, Master Chief Collection failed the first time. Let's remake it and issue 2.0. But Microsoft, in their competition, the library that they're building, said that is not acceptable. We need to make this one the definitive edition.
And you can actually kind of, I completely agree with that, based on how Microsoft has been with their other game companies that aren't Microsoft companies.
Right.
So I'm talking about who is it that makes whatever, just name a fucking company. It's part of the $10 a month charge. That's not a Microsoft company. That people
that do Xbox exclusives that aren't Microsoft.
Or even not Xbox exclusives that are part of the $10 a month fee that you paid for the Game Pass.
Right.
All those 360 titles and original Xbox titles.
Okay. Like Dante's Inferno.
Let's just say Dante's Inferno.
Right.
Microsoft doesn't say, "Hey, pay us money and you can now make your game available on our content." They go, "We will literally do this for you.
Right.
We will pay our employees to take the code, which by the way we already had, fix it, which we already did, show it to you, which here it is, and go, isn't it great and better and works on all these things? And also, you'll gain money if you just throw it in our store."
Yeah.
And everybody goes, yeah, of course. Why not do that? Microsoft sends people to these studios and says, I will fix your code for you to make it backwards compatible on all of these things.
And for the future.
Yeah, for the future going forward. Because
basically they came out and said, you will make money on this product ad infinitum.
Yes.
without you having to put any work
Even if it's just that you join our $10 a month club, you will gain a amount of revenue from that sale, whether it be 10 cents from every person that gets a copy of it, not necessarily 10 cents from everybody, 10 cents from people who actually download it and play it, because that's just business practice. But what I'm saying is Microsoft has been going out to different studios and paying their own employees to fix and perfect backwards compatibility, to perfect these games, much like the Master Chief Collection, saying, like, these games have to be perfect. These games have to be played best, even if they're on somebody else's system. Even if it's like a multiple comes on PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and Wii. It has to be played best on the Xbox. Right. And Microsoft will go, fuck you. We've got Microsoft money to throw at the problem and say, yeah, we'll give you some of the fucking hints along the way, but we will make sure it is better here and available to all of our players just joining up with us.
Best on an Xbox is the catchphrase for the next generation.
Next while. Actually, I don't want to say for the next generation because I think that's going to be Xbox is everywhere.
Sure.
Because of where we are seeing, and the future is the Xbox is everywhere. Yeah, that is it is the true one console future. Whenever you only need one because it literally works on everything.
Yeah. All right, that's everything you have for video game news this week. We're going to take a small break. When we come back, we'll be going into level 3 entertainment news.
Okay, so I went off a tangent and didn't make a lot of sense on that last part, but
no, it was fine.
Brooklyn, seriously, dude. It may have been the worst gift you ever received when it first came out, but you still have access to it, and it has gotten so much better.
I'm actually gonna get ODST just so you and I can get drunk and have an ODST day.
You know that because we share things in the apartment and I have access to it, you can literally just log into it on the computer.
Yes.
The one that's in the living room.
Should get super shit faced.
I literally have never played ODST.
I know. But I want you to be
because it's not.
I want you to be like Band of Brothers drunk, where emotional things happen and you start crying.
I can't start a game at Band of Brothers drunk.
No, we'll work into it. We'll just start.
I have to have like right now. I've had 2 1/3 of a beer on a high alcohol content, so I'm in the perfect I can start right now. After 6 more beers, I will be at the Band of Brothers level of drunk. I guess I'm just gonna entertain Brooklyn by myself now since y'all. I have to pee though. That's the problem. You fucking left me and I have to pee. Can y'all just hang out for 30 seconds? I really need to take a pee and feed the dog. I'm gonna feed the dog and pee. I'll be right back. Sorry, but no, go back and play it. Fucking Halo. Even 4 is on there. 4 is good. Okay, I like 4. Not everybody likes 4. They just also added more skulls to the games, so have fun with that. They made it even more complicated to play for, I think, 1 and 2. I think the new skulls are on. No, I'm going to load up Halo here soon because they changed the aiming controls to modern aiming, and it's just a smoothing. It's honestly just a smoothing out of the reticle and how the speed sections. So how fast it moves during certain analog pushes. So they basically just threw 4 and 5s aiming into 1 and 2. So I'm super looking forward to that. 3 was already kind of there, but I'll be right back. All right, feed the dog, feed the dog. It's 9 o'clock. The dog wants fed. Oops, that's not enough food. That was only 3 pieces. There you go. All right. Whew, it's getting warm in here because it's already like 90 degrees in Texas for some reason. Gotta send a text message. And then put it on silent. I forgot I didn't put my phone. It's phone on silent. Okay, we're gonna save a file. So turning shit over here. You can't see this because I don't have it set to see my screen. We're on episode 293. Save. All right, file saved. Good. Now I switch over to here. Move some shit. Bam! Entertainment news. That's what we're going into next. All right. No, like if it wasn't for having double and then triple XP weekend in Destiny, I would have played the update to Halo because I want people to go back and play the storyline with, because playing Halo's storyline, like Halo 1, 2, 3, and 4 on co-op, like not local, like local co-op's fun, but you know, I hate having my screen cut off. But having it online where I can have 4 people all online playing a game together and we're all doing that is fun as fuck. You just put your headset on, goof off, talk to each other. And, you know, local co-op's all I did for ages on Halo. I'd either played it by myself or was local co-op. And with the exception of PvP, and that was everybody on their individual, like, okay, after 3, everybody on their own screens playing Halo individually, but together. But that was the point where you're starting to play the storylines by yourself because you weren't in the same room together, and it was harder to match up, and you just kind of just did PvP. Whereas now I'm used to playing Destiny, which is you sometimes play the story with other people, but generally you play that by yourself because it's more of an emotional impact for you. And then you do play everything else. You play all these strikes and additional content with other people because why not? Yeah, no, the Halo franchise it's going to be going places. I'm really looking forward to Infinity coming out in about 3 years. Y'all dones? Now you gotta pee. Yeah, I had to feed the dog and pee. She's learning how to eat way too fast in that one now too. Yeah, I'm gonna put the other even slower feeder in, and then like change his location, like put it like hide the food, like make the noise where I'm putting food, and she has to go figure out where it's at in the apartment. Like lock her away, and she's got to hunt for it.
She is a shepherd dog, so she may be good at that.
Yeah, I mean, fat girl, she can smell it. She's like, I know where it's at. I know where my food is.
You know that as soon as you open the food, she'll follow you wherever you go.
The thing is, I had to put her in another room and then hide the food somewhere in the apartment for her to go get. All right. No, I'm good. These things are kind of kicking my ass right now because my little tiny sandwich I had for lunch is been. I'm thinking. So I'm trying to decide what kind of diet I'm switching over to.
Oh God, you're becoming Hector.
Yeah. No. I'm thinking I'm gonna go with a very low sodium because I need to for my heart. Very low amount of sugar. I need to because of my weight.
Mm-hmm.
Very too low carb because of my weight.
Mm-hmm.
Possibly go with like lactose and gluten free.
Ooh, man, you're really
Just limit. The way Megan put it was you have limited yourself to cucumbers and vodka.
Oh God. Please don't take diet advice from your girlfriend.
No, her diet has been working for her. She's like, the one you're putting yourself on is very restrictive.
Yeah.
And I was supposed to research what I want to do for this diet.
You know, Brooklyn is a hardcore workout enthusiast. You could talk to him.
I don't see. I also need a workout routine because I don't like working out. I like playing Destiny, so I don't know how to work out. I know how to sit in a chair and shoot things.
Yeah.
And since I live on the second floor, she's not playing with it. She's
Yeah, let
licking-
us know
she's licking
before
the
you
floor.
go on an extreme diet, please, because I'm currently on the taco diet. So
The Taco Bell taco diet works pretty well. We only eat like 3 Taco Bell tacos per
Princess will
day.
get your booty into shape. All right, let's talk about some movie stuff because I'm super.
I've got a pretty nice butt. I walk a lot. I got to work on the belly and the chest. Like my legs and my butt are pretty.
You got your dad bod going on?
Yeah, no, I noticed it the other day. I was like, oh motherfuck, this is. I was taking it back because my fucking feet were hurting, and I was sitting in my salt bath thing. We were like, oh, this is good, and I was
You're
like,
like,
oh,
I've let myself
this
go.
is not good. This is Jabba the Hutt getting sprayed by his minions. Bad. Oh, this is not good. I say that, but I'm still technically within the correct. Like
Yeah.
I'm getting to the higher end of the correct weight range
Yeah.
for my like age and everything. So it's whatever.
All right, let's talk some movies, man. I'm
I
super excited.
just need to drop like I'm thinking like 105 pounds. If I drop 105 pounds,
You'll be back to high school weight.
no. If I drop 105 pounds, I will be about 95 pounds.
Oh Jesus, you're me in high school weight.
I literally would not be able to function because my body's too big for that.
All right, let's do this.
My shoulder's way too fucking wide for that at this
That
point.
is true.
Like I was looking at the other, I noticed like the way all my shirts and everything fit now is because my bones and everything have actually just gotten broader.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I couldn't even fit into my old shirts because I'm like they literally just could not fit on like the size that my body like bone wise has grown to.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I'm already switched over to all the things.
All right,
So
let's do it.
I've also saved because I need to set this shit up for. I don't know how to set up macros. You know how to set up macros?
I don't know. We really need a stream box. We really need
I
a stream
almost
box.
bought one the other day. They had them on the sale for like $70
Oh wow.
for one of the small ones.
Yeah, that's fine.
Which are,
That's all we need.
the small ones are normally 100.
Yeah.
And honestly, it's the program is what I want
Yeah.
because the program only works with the stream boxes.
Mm-hmm.
But that program allows you to do macros inside of macros inside of macros. You press one button and it does a billion fucking things
Right.
without me having to program shit. And I hate programming things because I could make fucking exe files that run shit.
We need a stream box for episode 300, please. All right, let's do this.
Yeah, we should just talk to fucking I can't remember who bought them. It's Elgato, right?
It's Elgato.
Elgato got bought by it's not Logitech. Logitech bought Yeti.
Is it Razer?
No,
No. I don't know.
it may have been HyperX bought them.
I don't know. They just put out a new line of stuff that looks pretty interesting.
Yeah, and the only reason why they're able to put out the new stuff was because they got bought out.
Yeah.
And it's the same reason as why Logitech is going to be releasing a lot more Yeti stuff soon.
Right.
And we've seen hints that like the Yeti line is becoming upgraded.
Right. Right.
Because
right.
Logitech literally bought the company. I can't remember. Somebody bought Elgato, and I can't fucking remember who it is. All right.
Sorry, our upstairs neighbors are pounding on the floor again.
At least they're not making me have to call the cops on them.
Yeah, that's good. That's a plus.
We've had 100% less domestic disputes since I've called the cops on them.
That is true.
We've
Right.
still had more stomping and being annoyed, but
is true.
100% less. I'm pretty sure someone was getting stabbed.
Yeah.
Level 3 entertainment news.
Hey, adventurers, welcome back to the show. What a week for entertainment news this has been. We're going to kick things off with one of my favorite things in the whole world, and that's Ghostbusters. We have to talk about Ghostbusters this week. Like,
Okay,
what happened? It's just...
yeah, no, this is something that basically Hollywood did their best job hiding until the last second.
Yep.
And the last second being meaning we actually put out a press release. Here's information. No one knew about this.
So what happened last week? This happened like last Tuesday, like the day after we recorded the show. We found out that Jason Reitman is going to be directing the next Ghostbusters movie, and it's going to be a continuation.
Which is, by the way, Ivan Reitman's son, who directed Ghostbusters 1 and 2.
Right.
Ivan Reitman is one of the greatest comedy directors to go in history, and his son has done some good stuff. And this is the passing of the torch, literally,
It is.
to his son, being like, by the way, here you go.
Yep.
You can now do Ghostbusters, and Ghostbusters probably we're going to call it 3
Yep.
because of,
Now I'm going to try and keep
reasons.
this condensed because we try not to talk about rumors and speculation on the show. We try to present the news as the news. We know that Ernie Hudson has kind of came out and said like, yeah, people are super on board. Like we're getting the old gang back together and all that. But we've got no confirmation of that. Bill Murray has not said if he's going to be coming back for this. We know
I mean,
that
Ernie Hudson will show up to a wet fart, and
That
Bill
is
Murray will
true.
say, I'm never working on anything ever again.
unless Wes Anderson does it.
Even then, he's still going to deny it.
Right. But
Bill Murray, that's what he fucking does.
what we do know about it is that there's already a teaser trailer that's up. We see the original Ecto. We know that this is going to be a sequel to Ghostbusters 2 or Ghostbusters 3 if you're counting the video game, but we don't know if that's counted in the continuity yet.
I'm hoping that the Ghostbusters, the video game, is counted because it does wrap up very neatly pretty much Ghostbusters 1 and 2 and sets it like
Right.
where you could go in the future.
Now, here's the thing that I didn't realize until today. I was, of course, I always try and pull from multiple news sources so I can have everything cited correctly as we go through the news. But there actually apparently is kind of a byline synopsis of what we've got. So the single sentence summary of the movie is a family moves back home to a small town where they learn more about who they are. That's the
Okay.
weird, like single sentence what's going on. So it seems like we're taking this out of New York.
I mean, I already got that feeling because in the teaser trailer, it's a slow pan into a barn
Yeah.
where you can see proton pack arcs going off and you can hear the noise. And then eventually leads into the wind, and you can see the proton packs going off until you get in the doors. At which point you see wind ruffling a tarp. The tarp lifts. It's the original Ecto 1. I'm not the best at knowing every single detail of every vehicle that was in Ghostbusters,
Right.
but I believe it's the Ecto 1 from the original Ghostbusters, not the Ecto 1 from Ghostbusters 2.
Right.
If I remember the cars correctly. And that is kind of super telling because we do know the cars changed. What the fuck happened to Ecto 1? Where did it go? Apparently it went to upstate and went to live on a farm and die. And when things go to live on a farm in the Ghostbusters universe, they actually don't die.
So this raises a lot of questions, though. We have to ask ourselves: one, are we willing to have a Ghostbusters movie that doesn't take place in New York? Because I mean, that is traditionally, even in the
I mean, ghosts happen
one.
everywhere. And the point of the original Ghostbusters story was that this was a franchise of Ghostbusters, that this was just what these four were dealing with because they bought a license to have access to this information or to the proton packs and all of that and had to spend money buying them. Later on, that idea got modified whenever you ran into the Ghostbusters tabletop game and into the expanded Ghostbusters universe with like Extreme Ghostbusters, how there are franchises of other people who are Ghostbusters.
Sure, I mean
who
there was
buy
there
into
was an
it.
old script.
It was a way to make money because these guys had no money. They literally say in the first movie, "You franchise this."
Right there was an old storyline because you and I are obviously giant Ghostbusters fans.
Yeah.
I'm
feeling like I'm putting it way out there.
There
right
was a script like way back in the day. I mean, we're talking like late 90s, early 2000s. It was supposed to be about Sigourney Weaver's son and him kind of coming in and taking over the business.
Like I when I say this idea of a family moving and finding out like their history, this kind of feels like Oscar is finding out where Oscar's history comes from.
Right. So we always knew that if they did another Ghostbusters film within the original universe, it was really going to kind of come down to the passing of the torch. And I feel like that's where we're going with this. I had always assumed it would take place like in New York City proper, the way that, all the other Ghostbusters movies have. This is almost a more horror-esque take, though. This kind of like family on a farm in the middle of nowhere and you don't know about your past. Like this feels a little more horror, which if you think about the original Ghostbusters compared to Ghostbusters 2, I mean, the original Ghostbusters was a little more horror related than what we got in the sequels. Sure, there's a lot of comedy and everything that happens during that. I don't know, like, I like the fact that this has been kept very close to the chest of Hollywood, that we didn't want to just go ahead and announce that we were doing it, but now it seems like out of nowhere, are we suddenly excited for Ghostbusters again?
I mean, seeing this trailer or teaser, I super on board. I got goosebumps watching this. This is one of the times where I couldn't hold myself back. I was at work when the trailer got launched. I was at home whenever the information came out about Jason Reitman taking over.
Right.
And I was like, okay, Jason Reitman's going to be doing this, and it's going to be coming out like next year.
Yeah.
Holy shit, that means this has been hidden from Hollywood for a while.
Yeah.
And we knew what level of, like, that means, like, this is really far in development. And then literally 12 hours later, I'm at work after sleeping, and the trailer drops. And I'm like, I can't wait. I have to like take a break. I sat down and I watched it on my phone and was like, motherfucker, this is so cool. And the idea of making it more, let's say, family focused, but more on the first movie's horror side, I think would play out for the Ghostbusters universe. And this is where I wanted to, like, I just had to like send you a side note that you read for a second. We do have a little bit more information about another movie that's being made.
We don't have it in the show notes.
We don't have it in the show notes, so
It's worth talking about.
It's worth talking about for me. Just give you this information. Chris Columbus, who was the original writer creator for Gremlins, the Gremlins 1, I think it was directed by Steven Spielberg. Is going back and he's making Gremlins 3, not a reboot or anything, and has come out today and stated, like, no, we're making Gremlins 3.
Yeah, this isn't some like Hollywood, we might be doing this bullshit.
No, this is Gremlins 3 is coming out. It's kind of a reboot, but we're not for sure if it's going to be called Gremlins 3 or just Gremlins, but it is going to take place within that same universe. And he's like, so all that weird, dark, fucked up humor and like story that was in the first one that made the first one way better. I mean, I like the second one.
I love the second one.
The second one is why I like Ghostbusters 2, because it's fucking silly.
Yeah.
The first one, if you watch the original Gremlins, it is a dark story. The dad tells a story about Santa Claus dying in a fucking chimney, okay?
Yeah.
In like the first 20 minutes. It's a fucked up story. And it just gets worse from there. And Chris Columbus is like, yeah, I'm doing that.
Yeah.
I'm taking that original idea that I had and making it more fucked up. And by the way, the CGI will be used to get rid of things like wires and stuff because we're just making everything out of puppets again.
Yeah, I'm super
And my
excited
brain
about
was
that.
like, holy shit, I get Ghostbusters 3, which at this point, there are parts of the Paul Feig's Ghostbusters that I did enjoy. I didn't enjoy the comedy of it. I enjoyed some of the acting and some of the storytelling, but overall, I did not enjoy the film. Let's say if I had to like put a percentage in it, it was like I enjoyed like 35% of it.
Right.
But that's a good 35% I did enjoy. There were elements to it that I did enjoy. And I'm looking forward to maybe enjoying 75% of this new Ghostbusters film because I get Paul Feig, I get his comedy, but maybe don't fuck with my Ghostbusters. And then Chris is coming in and be like, by the way, I'm making Gremlins back to the way I wanted to always make Gremlins, which you saw already. I was like, fuck yes, I get two of my favorite film franchises. And he's like, by the way, it's probably going to be it's going to be coming out around Christmas. Not this one, but like maybe the next one.
Hold on to your butts.
So you know, it's going to be another Christmas Gremlins movie. And my brain was like, oh, fuck you, 2020 is like the best, like, it's my childhood is happy. Oh, something I didn't talk about that I did this week. I watched Bumblebee.
Oh, how was it?
It is the fucking goddamn best Transformers movie I've seen.
Wow.
That is such a good, fun Transformers movie.
Wow. I'm going to possibly watch it then.
Yeah, no, like I had fun watching that movie. It takes place within the same universe.
Yeah.
It is so much better than all the other ones before it. And it was very enjoyable as a standalone film. It's really all I needed. Like they could literally never make another Transformers movie. I'm like, okay, done. I'm happy. I'm happy with where that ended because it literally it sets up the rest of the storyline. But I got to see Optimus Prime as like Gen 1 Optimus on Cybertron fucking shooting.
Oh, that's cool.
I got to it was so good, and I'm finally getting my childhood to actually be represented correctly.
Yeah.
And I think that with Ghostbusters and Gremlins and Transformers finally getting their shit right, I'm very happy.
All right. So we're going to continue down this horror train a little bit and just very briefly talk about a upcoming film that's going to be shown on Netflix. It's called The Devil All the Time. So the concept of this movie is it's a Midwestern Gothic about a serial killer couple a faith-testing preacher, and a corrupt local sheriff. That's the byline that they put out to the press. This is what you have to look forward to.
Okay, this sounds like a not like a continuation of the Sookie Stackhouse
It does a little bit.
the Gothic vampire Louisiana storyline stuff.
Yeah, so the big, if you had to read it online, there's this place in Ohio called Knocking Sif, Ohio. It's forgotten backwards of the U.S., where a storm of
It's
faith,
Ohio.
violence, and redemption is brewing. Out to save his dying wife, Willard Russell turns to prayer, which succumbs to sacrifice. This sets the protagonist, Arvin, Willard's son, on the path from being a bullied kid to a man who knows when to take action. So this is a really weird abstract concept.
Oh, they got the naming down pretty
that,
good.
that I'm talking about. But one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this specific horror movie that's coming out is that this movie, so everybody was wondering about this whole Netflix like price hike that happened recently. You got to
Yep.
pay like $2 more a year. or
Well,
whatever.
whenever they announced Steve Carell making Space Force, and they're like, by the way, from like basically everybody who made the U.S. Office is coming back to make this, everyone went, that's where the price hike
Right. So
happened.
this particular thriller movie, that's what it's being labeled as, the thriller movie, stars Tom Holland, Chris Evans, Bill Skarsgård, and Robert Pattinson.
Oh, so that's also where the price hike came from.
So that's where your money went, just so you know, because those four actors are in a movie together.
Between that and Steve Carell and The Office coming together. All right, so we're going to talk about more of this at the end, but the price hike from Netflix
Yep.
has been needing to happen for a while.
Yeah, sure.
And I think I'm trying to save my thoughts
Okay.
to the
Save your
end.
thoughts. By the way, Jake Gyllenhaal is one of the producers on this movie. So,
Of course he is.
so just throwing that out there. All right, so let's go ahead and we do have a lot of Netflix stuff to talk about. So let's start wrapping this section up a little bit quicker than usual. We did hear this week though, if you guys are a fan of the creepypasta stuff online, these kind of modern urban legends that are being popped up. If you've watched Channel Zero, which unfortunately got canceled this week.
It did get canceled. It still possibly could be saved.
could.
Sci-fi likes to cancel things whenever they're just at their perfect moment, which is good because it never gets bad.
Right, like there you go.
Sci-fi likes to cancel things when you're always wanting more.
Yeah,
and I think
Battlestar
that
Galactica all over
is
again.
probably minus Battlestar Galactica. Because Battlestar Galactica went on a little bit too long. They milked the fuck out of that. That was pre Game of Thrones
Yeah.
Sci-Fi Channel, and they had a fucking winner at that point. Everybody was talking about Battlestar Galactica, and they've since learned that lesson. Cancel things when they're at their highest, and then give them something new.
Yeah.
Get them hooked to the new, not the old new.
So there is a modern creepypasta urban legend called the Russian sleep experiment that came out a few years back. I swear to God, if you Google it, you'll probably know the image if you look up horrifying images online.
Not everyone is you, James.
Not everybody is me. I totally understand that. But the creepypasta, the urban legend they came up with was that there was a Soviet researchers that used an experimental stimulant in the 40s to keep 5 people awake for like 15 consecutive days. That's basically
And all the monsters they get to see and experience.
how it starts, that whole thing. So we now have a director, Barry Anderson, coming in, and he is now working on a project called the Soviet Sleep Experiment. It's a psychological thriller that's kind of based around this creepypasta urban legend. They're trying to get a big old ensemble cast for it. It's supposed to be like really dark and disturbing. Either way, I just wanted to talk about this very briefly in the news just because Channel Zero did just end. And I think that because of the popularity of Channel Zero, we would have not have had a
We
movie
totally
like
this totally wouldn't have existed had Channel Zero not done as well as it did.
Yeah.
I
We
mean,
have all
even with
these-
its cancellation, it did do
Right,
very
there's
well.
all these like writers and directors, or all these directors specifically, that are looking towards the things like the creepypasta
I mean,
section of the
you
internet.
have to come up.
These
you
are
have to-
modern
you have to-
horror writers
Yeah.
that aren't Stephen King.
Yeah, you have
right?
to
These
find
are-
new and interesting places to get stories from, and kind of anonymous stories from the internet work because for one, you don't have to fucking pay them, so there's no royalties to pay off.
So the people behind Channel Zero did pay people to the best of their abilities. They
Yeah,
tried to track down.
I mean, you legally have to do the best of your ability to find these people. But if you can't, oh well, that's money that goes to us instead.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's not saying they're not actually doing their jobs and paying lawyers to actually do their fucking jobs too. But these are new ideas. There's entirely new sections of the world that are able to speak to each other and merge ideas together culturally to come up with these interesting ideas. And then you have people that are filmmakers and writers to come in and basically fix them and make them
Sure.
passable for an actual audience.
Channel Zero, every story in Channel Zero is only the roughest idea.
Yeah.
Like No End House is nothing like the story No End House. It's just they took the concepts of this concept's great. How do we expand on that?
Yeah, no, one of the subreddits I follow is just writing prompts, and anybody can go on there any point and just write what they think an interesting, cool story idea would be, and some people will write a story out of that, and that will become its own thing.
Yeah.
And things like the Russian sleep experiment, things like the No End House, come out of these ideas.
Yeah.
And it's just people working together. It's crowdsourcing creativity, but in
Which is such a cool concept.
a positive way than it possibly could sound.
Right.
And I'm all for this because I did just state like, holy shit, like my childhood's feeling like redeemed with I'm getting all these great versions or possible great versions of things I love.
Yeah.
I also want new and unique things. I don't want, like, I love the Marvel movies because they're Marvel movies and they modified slightly the stories I already knew. But I can only take those being blockbuster winners for so long, maybe another like 30 years.
All right, that's everything that we have for entertainment news this week. We're going to take a small break. When we come back, we'll be going into our final segment, the epilogue.
Sorry. Leaning back to the like possible, like I didn't turn my chair, so I was just leaning my neck incredibly wrong. Let's click some shit, you fucking bitch. Click some shit, you fucking bitch. Epilogue.
Hey, Adventures, welcome back to the show. All right, this is the epilogue. This is our main talking point for the podcast, sometimes related to the news, sometimes not. Honestly, one of the reasons I wanted to do a section like the epilogue in our podcast is, like I said earlier in the episode, when we talk about the news, I try and make it as fact-driven as I can. I try not to talk about rumors and speculation too much. The epilogue really gives us the opportunity as nerds to kind of pick a topic and get weird with it. And that's kind of what this week is about. So
why don't we just call the section "Get Weird with It"?
Get weird with it.
That's generally what we do anyway.
That is true. So we are gonna slightly tie this into the news in that Netflix put out their kind of letter to their investors over the last week, and one of the things that was said during this letter to investors is that they have a competition section of their letter, like who is our biggest competition that we have to kind of fight up against, and they said,
and they got a lot of different versions of that now.
Right. So they said that Netflix competes with and lose to Fortnite more than HBO when it comes to screen time. Right. So
so they're taking this more than just we are an entertainment company.
Right.
We're taking this we want to be the place where your face is glued to a screen more than anything else.
Right. So they said that yes, HBO Go is popular, but it's not as popular as Fortnite, and that's our
so they're
biggest
counting things like
competitor.
Twitch in this.
Right. And so this is why I wanted to get into the get weird section of this, because I feel like something like this could very well possibly be very eye-opening as to where Netflix might be thinking about going in the near future. So let's kind of go into the Wayback Machine for a little bit. Over the few past months, we've been talking about things like a lot of game companies are looking towards game streaming as a option, right? We're looking at Microsoft is like, if you buy an Xbox Game Pass, you can stream Halo on your phone, on the go, stuff like that. Now we have things like...
This is all hypothetical kind of fan theory, but this is where we can see things are kind of moving towards.
Right. Everybody seems to be going towards this idea of this streaming gaming future. Obviously, we're on Twitch and Mixer and all these things, and we know that Twitch gets a lot of viewers. I was just watching the Games Done Quick over the last week for charity, and there's hundreds of thousands of people tuning into that and donating to that and doing that thing. Netflix has already come out in years past and said, we would love to have some of those numbers that we see on Twitch and have those kind of people coming in and viewing our content. And so what we're talking about today is this hypothetical Netflix versus the world scenario. And the reason I bring this up is that when you put out a statement to your investors and say that your biggest competition is a video game, what should they take away from that? And the reason I bring this up is two primary factors. One, Netflix has just produced a Minecraft the game that one can play on Netflix using a remote. And two,
Just made. They've
well, I mean,
actually been out for a little
it's
while.
been out for a little while. But two, we also have the newest episode of Black Mirror, which aired, which is a fully interactive episode of Black Mirror. The protagonist goes through the movie, and at key junctions in time, much like a Telltale game, a prompt comes up, and then you tell the character what to do. And in
I've
Black
been holding
Mirror,
off playing this.
It's fun. It's a lot of fun.
But Netflix is also being sued because of this by the creators of the Choose Your Own Adventure books.
Well, they're being sued because they reference it in the show. That's
And
the
because that's a reference to the in the show, and a thing you're actively doing is choosing your own adventure. I think I think they're going to get some money just because Netflix is going to pay them to go away.
Sure. But what I'm saying here is that when we talk about Netflix versus the world, and this hypothetical, fun, weird discussion that we're having, is when Netflix tells their investors, our biggest competition is a video game.
Okay.
Is that a message to the investors that we should be getting into a market? We need to find our way into this market.
I think. All right. So this is where I'm going to get a little. I got to put my fucking tinfoil hat on. All right.
Sure, do it.
Whenever
That's the whole
when
point of
Netflix
this.
says our biggest competition is something like Fortnite, they have to look at what they have, which is working for them, which is they do have interactive games. They have the ability to instantaneously activate entertainment anywhere in the world. Meaning, no whatever time zone or whatever country you're in, they can turn on the ability to watch something, right? The reason I bring this up is because you mentioned HBO, and HBO has, as of a couple of years ago, the moment that Game of Thrones is live, you can stream Game of Thrones.
Right.
That episode, which
I could be watching it with somebody in New York. They're watching it on HBO on their TV.
and you're watching
with
it
it.
on your computer with your headset on, just talking to each other through Skype, being like, or just being like quiet as possible because it's
Yeah,
Game of
probably
Thrones
quiet,
and you
yeah.
don't fucking talk in Game of Thrones. Hard rule.
That is the rule.
Hard rule. But what I'm thinking is this is whenever Netflix comes over to something like Overwatch League, something like Rocket League, and says, we're going to start streaming your tournaments the moment they're happening.
Right.
We're going to, because Netflix doesn't do
Dota International
It doesn't
kind of
do
things.
live streaming yet. We know they can. We know this is within their functionality based on everything that they've made.
Right.
I'm imagining them saying like, yeah, Fortnite's our biggest competitor, so we should make it where this is where you watch Fortnite tournaments.
Right, because when you think
Where
about
you
it,
can't stream
because
them
when
on
we
Twitch,
talk
you
about
have to come to
Fortnite,
Netflix.
we aren't just talking about Fortnite, the game itself. So it says that our biggest competitor is Fortnite, but I don't think we're just thinking about this in terms of, well,
They mean people streaming Fortnite.
streaming Fortnite. And here's the thing: is that if you're on Twitch and you're successful, not like we are not successful on Twitch, but if you are
Hard not successful.
not successful on Twitch.
like literally anything.
Yeah. But the idea when you are successful on Twitch is that when people donate, not using our, if you donate to us using our donate button, that all goes to us. But when advertisements are shown on Twitch channels, it will tell you the proceeds from this advertisement either go to the streamer or they go to Twitch. And 99% of the commercials you see on Twitch go to Twitch. The proceeds go to them. It's the higher end streamers, the people who have hundreds of thousands of viewers that get a fraction of those commercial
Yeah, no,
proceeds that go to
we're at the in between stage where we are Twitch affiliates, but we're not Twitch. The whatever the one is above
Partners.
affiliate, yeah, partners.
Yeah.
So we're in there. We have enough people that like us,
Right.
but we're not people that like love us.
Right, exactly.
Twitch doesn't love us yet.
But what I'm saying is that mentality of that these 99% of people who watch Twitch are watching commercials whose revenue then goes to Twitch is something that Netflix can then adapt to what they have.
Now, so I'm not saying that like Netflix is going to start game streaming anytime soon. They're not going to do that.
Right.
They're super never going to do that. I'm thinking it's more along the lines of something like the International, something along the lines of Overwatch League, or I am throwing this out there, Rocket League, because Rocket League is prime right now for having the next esports iteration come out. Rocket League's
So-
been around. It's been well developed. It exists on all these platforms. It has shitloads of people who are very good at it. I don't think it's the best thing for Netflix to back as for a live streaming thing, but the Super Bowl's fucking dead. We know more people watch game streaming, more people watch Overwatch League than they do to watch the Super Bowl.
Right.
And we need to get those. Netflix doesn't need to actually get people to like sign up and watch our commercials. All they need to do is be like, we're going to stream this game, and our commercials are nothing but the TV shows that, or the Netflix shows that we're already going to be coming out in the future anyway. That's how they release their new things.
So-
this is just, again, this is my crazy theory.
Sure. I mean, that was the whole point of this section, is to get really weird with our ideas here. So I had a different idea.
Okay.
And my idea was about game streaming. But not game streaming, but game streaming. Follow my train of thought here.
I'm thinking you think Netflix making its own games, much like they have been doing. They've done this, as you said, a couple of times.
Right.
But let's say Netflix wants to make a truly interactive film. Not in the where a lot of people saw the future of VR going, but actually interactive.
I'm going to go a
film.
step further and say that it doesn't need to be an interactive film. I think that Netflix is looking at the possibility that game streaming itself can become a viable business model, and that you could do something like just play The Witcher and it exists on the Netflix platform.
So super tinfoil hat. Like
Right. This is way.
this is like, give me all your aluminum cans I'm gluing in my fucking head.
Yes.
When the new Witcher series comes out.
Right. We're just making shit up now.
I'm really glad Hector isn't here right now, is what I'm saying. So we know the Witcher series is coming out. That's a thing. It's going to be telling us more stories within the Netflix or within the Witcher universe that haven't been told in the games. Whether in the books or not, that's different. We don't know that. I'm thinking, based on your idea, that there might be Netflix buying CD Projekt Red and being like, by the way, also you're going to be making Witcher 4 available to play directly inside of Netflix.
Right. And the reason
That's kind of what I'm thinking. That's where I feel you're going.
Right, and the reason I'm talking about this is that it's not unprecedented. Again, we have the Minecraft, the game that already exists in Netflix, and that we knew as of like a year or 2 years, I can't remember at this point. It was talked about at E3. I want to say it was E3. Yeah, it was maybe Telltale was going to be doing.
Dude, Telltale's games could entirely be played on fucking.
It was
on Netflix.
They were doing a Stranger Things game that was going to be launched on the platform. Like that was a big deal. It was like, hey, we're doing.
Yeah,
Stranger
it turned into cell phone games. So they released a cell phone game version of season. It was a prequel to season 2, much like
Sure.
right now, whenever the announcement of season 3 was a prequel game that is season.
Right, but what I'm
before that.
saying is that there's already a department that exists within Netflix that is game focused. What is stopping them from saying, all right, so if we invest a little bit more money, we can get the next, I don't know, Doom to be on Netflix, where you could just load up Doom and you could, most people stream on their fucking, Xbox or PS4. They've already got a controller input. I mean, the fucking Black Mirror show, it tells you which platform you're basically playing on. It knows if you're playing on a controller or if you're playing on a remote.
Yeah.
It tells you that at the beginning.
I mean, it has to, because that's limited technology. And that's something I want to break up. I have to be kind of the naysayer on this.
Absolutely.
Okay. And I get that this is a good idea. The majority of people who watch Netflix are laptop users. I'll just call them that. People who watch Netflix in their bed, or they have it through a tablet or Roku, something that has a very rudimentary input device.
Sure.
I'm not saying that controller is the best input in device, but it's worlds above a Roku controller. Sure. Okay. The idea of trying to play The Witcher 4 on that versus a controller or a keyboard and mouse is ridiculous. That's insane. You couldn't even think about playing it.
You're taking this to the most extreme examples.
What I'm looking towards a future where Netflix wants to get into game streaming, a la Twitch, Mixer, or YouTube.
Right.
YouTube's kind of failed at it and has admitted that a couple of times because they failed at it and reinvented it and failed at it and reinvented it. Mixer is Microsoft's second iteration of trying to stream online games. Twitch is still the current best one. and that's for just watching other people play games.
Right.
I was kind of combining this into play your own game or watch people play games. And if they were to do something like that, they either one have to completely control that game's online streamability.
Right.
Meaning, if you're like, we're going to keep using Witcher as an example. Meaning, you cannot stream Witcher on any other platform. Right. If YouTube detects it or anybody else detects it whatsoever, it immediately shuts down. Right. You cannot do it unless you're doing it
That brings
through,
up a lot of legal problems.
Yeah, it brings up a lot of issues.
Yeah.
Then there's the maybe playing the game through it, and that's what I was saying is like playing a game on or playing Netflix on my Xbox is completely different than playing playing Netflix on my iPad.
Right.
On my iPad, very different. Microsoft is trying to get to a point where you can do these things.
Right. That is the technology that they've actively said they are
They've
working
literally
towards.
said our plan is to make you be able to play whatever game you want, wherever you want, whenever you want.
Right.
And our brains, or my brain collectively went boom, and everybody else was like, Sony's still better. And it was like, but no, you're fucking wrong.
But what I'm saying is that is Netflix looking towards that technology? Are they looking at what that same
that's the thing?
Microsoft
That's the thing. That's what I'm saying is the long story to get to this point was the playing the game. No, you can't do that. It's not going to fucking work. The idea of watching somebody play, I don't think they're going to go after that either because that's been failed too many times by other people. This idea of the individual game streaming a game as a service, I think they are interested in, but the technology isn't quite there yet. Microsoft is going to be, I think, the first one to the table with this,
right,
to make it truly workable. We've seen this from like 7 other companies, like many other companies. I couldn't even name them.
Almost for the entire time that we have been doing this podcast.
Yeah, there's been company after company being like, we're doing game streaming. We're doing game streaming. All of us went, the fuck you are.
Right.
NVIDIA has
both
actually...
both you and I worked in the cloud development environment in its infancy, and we were like,
that's
how
not... bandwidth works? That's not how this works.
Yeah.
NVIDIA has a decent one running right now with for game play...
with the Shield.
Yeah, with the Shield, being able to play a... Not even just locally, but actually playing a high-res version of a game on your system at a high-res, but without having the comparable hardware. As long as your internet connection is fast enough. Yeah. NVIDIA has a very good version of that. It's not through Shield. It's a separate thing. There's another company that's doing the exact same thing with you don't have to have high-end hardware as long as you have fast enough internet connection.
Right.
And that's where the problem lies with all of these, even for Microsoft or...
Even if the tech is good,
it comes down to
the infrastructure.
The infrastructure has to be good enough.
Right.
And we thankfully live in Austin where we have Google Fiber.
Sure.
So fiber connections are awesome. And thankfully, we don't have to pay out the ass for them like a lot of people in the rest of the country do.
Right.
We have to pay the correct amount as we feel. Europe has much faster internet connections. They built their stuff later than the United States built into the internet way before anybody else did because we literally created the internet.
Yeah.
This goes into an entire other discussion about the history of things. But
Tony, you and I both used to work in dial-up.
Yeah, and you have to know the history of pre-dial-up age before you even get into dial-up. And America built that first. Yeah. The rest of the world went, we'll wait and see. And they waited and see until shit worked. And America
Are you saying that
the
America built internet porn?
Yeah, totally.
that checks out.
I honestly believe the first image uploaded to the internet was a picture of somebody's dick seeing like
I think it was like an ASCII file of a dick.
It was probably an ASCII file of a dick.
Yeah,
just
probably.
Be like you open it up as it was a very simple rudimentary paint file of a drawing of a penis.
So the idea in this hypothetical situation is that we could see Netflix want to get into the game streaming as a service game, right?
Yeah, where you would stream something a la Witcher 4.
Sure.
Again, we're just using Witcher as an example.
That's
people.
our example.
I'm going to keep repeating that we're using that as an example because we don't know anything aside from that.
But we don't
that's
know
what
that the
working
infrastructure holds up for it. Much like you can technically stream 4K movies on Netflix, but the bandwidth just doesn't hold up.
Yeah, no, unless you have a like us, like a gigabit internet connection, you
plus
really
a 4K TV,
plus a 4K TV, plus a 4K capable, essentially projector.
Yeah.
Past that, meaning an Xbox or a Blu-ray player that has 4K capable internet connection, something that can actually process that amount of information, you're not getting it.
But
it's not going to. Your screen won't show it.
The final question to be asked at this panel is: do we think that Netflix is looking for other venues, such as games as a service, as their next big power move? Because they cannot remain just the movie streaming service, because at some point the numbers will die off. You will reach peak
First
number
off,
of
Fortnite's going to be
users.
dying off pretty soon. And that's just on a Fortnite's going to die off.
Right.
Netflix has already kind of reached maximum capacity.
Right.
That's just hands down. We know that. We know that they are not making the amount of money. They've consistently lost money, not just on the amount of expenditure they're doing with creating new cool TV shows and movies, but with adding on new users. And adding on these new users has caused their profit margin to dip even further. So they're doing another price increase.
Yeah.
And this price increase still seems logical to me. Everybody's like, all the news I've been reading is like, this is the highest Netflix price increase in history. I mean, yeah.
We just talked about
But-
Chris Evans, fucking Robert Pattinson.
Let's also
Tom
talk about all the
Holland fucking-
awards that Netflix has been winning.
Yeah.
Netflix is like winning basically all the fucking awards. There is no movie studio getting more awards than Netflix is. There is no television company getting more awards than Netflix is. There is no awards anywhere getting more awards than what Netflix is getting
But
right now,
is it-
which means they're getting the recognition they deserve, which means they need to get the price that they deserve.
Right, but does it make it illogical to say that because we've hit peak Netflix number of users,
Saturation.
saturation,
Netflix
that's the
has
word I'm
become
looking for,
saturation.
right? We've
Saturated.
hit max saturation. That it's time for them to look at other venues as to how to pull in income. And the only reason I weirdly bring this up is like
I get the other income thing. There is something that was just shown this week at CES. I can throw this for a loop. There is a company whose new technology makes it available. That can make it available to any streaming service.
Okay.
Where this is Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, whoever wants to buy into their idea can find out if anybody aside from the actual people who have an account and the sub accounts that are paid, if anyone else, like there's let's say a third sub account that is for everybody else. Let's say you have an account, so it's a James's account, and I'm on yours, so I have the Tony account, and there's a third one called everybody else.
that's literally what we used to have. We do not have that.
There's a reason why I'm bringing this up. And they have a very intelligent learning algorithm that will pay attention to where people are located, what they are watching, when they are watching it across all these different versions and go, you're real, you're not real, you're real. And the accounts that are not real could be canceled. They can be like, no, you are using we know you're stealing your account, you're sharing your account information. You need to upgrade, and at which point we'll lock your account until you upgrade, or you have to cancel these sub members and tell these people to buy other things. With the I have to put this as an addendum. This is what the technology is. Netflix has come out and said, we really don't give a shit about people sharing their accounts.
Right.
It's something that we do pay attention to, but we don't really care that much. Fucking HBO.
Also, you only have like 2 people like the.
It depends on the amount you pay.
Yeah.
It depends on the amount you pay.
If you're paying for 10 people, like Netflix,
Yeah, Netflix is
you're
like, we
paying
don't
for 10
fucking
people.
care. Yeah,
Like,
we do whatever. HBO has come out and said, we really don't fucking care how many people log into your account.
Yeah.
Hulu has said, no, fuck you. You only so certain people are logged in because that's what Hulu says.
Yeah.
And they're kind of the outsider. Everybody online streaming platform has kind of come out and said, we don't give a fuck if you share accounts. But we do know there is a new technology that is coming out that could make it nearly impossible to share accounts.
Right.
Because even though you and I have very similar taste, it could go, no, the two of you are different people. You cannot share this account. One of you has to start paying for a separate account.
Right.
And we do know that a huge population of Netflix's user base are shared accounts. That basically about, I think it was the last report, about 45% of Netflix's data of users aren't actually paying for Netflix. So think about that. If they said they've already reached max saturation, no, they haven't. They've reached people that are they're just like scamming off their friends and family.
Okay, so we've been going a little bit long in this, and maybe
Yeah.
we need to revisit it a bit later. But there is the idea that if you start trying to nix people who borrow accounts, you will lose your primary fan base, the people who maybe they are the breadwinner for their home and they want to give their aunt or uncle that extra account.
That is something technology actually took into consideration, is the idea of people going to college or an aunt and uncle that you just give your account to.
Yeah.
They said all that is capable within this idea. No company has signed on to this whatsoever.
Right. We just know that it exists.
It exists. This is a thing that was shown, and everybody went, "Oh, fuck, AI like learning has gotten into our Netflix."
All right, so let's go and wrap this whole thing up. Do we feel like Netflix is going to have to branch out to other venues to start pulling in more people at the end of the day?
Okay, I currently am incredibly happy with where Netflix is at. Right. Its price point, even with the price increase, is worth it for the content that they have.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that content is also going to be cut back very soon.
You know I pay for your Netflix account, right?
I do know that. But what I'm saying is for what we have, like what we have for 3 people using a Netflix account, right? Because that's what we have. We have 3 separate accounts. And I do know that, like, all right, so that price is $10. 2 of us can stream at a time out of a 3-person account, right? That seems fine for a household.
Yeah.
That seems like what it would be if somebody went off to college or whatever. That seems average.
Yeah.
If they, which we do know, they will be losing new content very soon. They're going to be losing the Disney stuff. They're losing the Marvel stuff as much as they can lose the Marvel stuff. They'll be losing all these other things. But the additional content they've been creating, is the creation of new content worth this additional price increase?
Right.
I personally feel that it is. This is from us watching, like, I also don't pay for Amazon Prime. Your girlfriend pays for Amazon Prime.
Right.
And I get to reap the benefits of watching.
I pay for my own Amazon Prime, all right? So
We should not be paying for 2 Amazon Primes.
I have to. It's how the whole thing is.
No, yeah, I'm listening as an adult. Fucking, like, theirs is stupid. Amazon's is stupid because I'm listed as an adult on one Amazon Prime account, and I should just be listed on yours so my birth dates don't show up on the fucking stupid box that lives in the kitchen over there. I can't say its name because otherwise I'll start talking.
Right, so to kind of wrap this whole thing up, on my opinion about this whole idea is that we are hitting a threshold of max number of Netflix users, and I do believe that as we see companies like Microsoft going into the future looking at game streaming as a service, not game streaming a la Twitch, but as being able to actually stream a video game to your home box, I think Netflix is at least got feelers out there right now to see if that is a commercially viable solution for them.
I forgot that was the point we were trying to take on this.
Yes.
I completely agree. I believe Microsoft is going to be the first to the field on this.
Absolutely.
And honestly, the team that will be second will probably be the second in the gaming industry. I feel that Microsoft, when they actually, if they release this and it comes out,
already got game streaming actually down, but nobody's really talking about it.
It's because they charge you a shitload for a service that is
because they have
mediocre.
No competitors right now.
Yeah. And I think that once Microsoft says, by the way, $10 a month gives you access to everything,
done.
I don't think Netflix can compete with that. Where's Netflix's library?
Right,
they have great library.
But Netflix can say you pay more because you don't just get gaming streaming; you also get all of our movie catalog.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking this is something they're looking to, but I don't think this is.
I would go so far as to say they would give you a price hike, saying it's $15, $17 a month, but you can opt in at a lower price point if you just watch movies. We don't want to make non-gamers pay for this.
Same thing as the DVD rental versus the online streaming.
All over again.
Online streaming was like a $2 a month increase, and I immediately hopped on. I was like. And they're like, but because they didn't have you couldn't separate the two at the time. And now you can still actually just get DVDs from Netflix. By the way, people who fucking don't remember this, you actually can do that.
Yeah.
It's a legit thing.
All right, so we've been going tinfoil hat for a while. I'm curious to what your opinions are.
We've been off all the fucking rails on this shit.
Seriously, it's a fun topic to talk about. This is why I love the epilogue so much.
Where the fuck is Netflix going?
Right? Like, give us your opinions,
we could spend
please.
hours on this.
Right? Tony, where can they find us? Where can they tell us their opinions about where Netflix is going?
Facebook.com/TheSillyNerd. Talk to us about Netflix and all the things Facebook related, or just share us with your friends and, post pictures of dicks on our timeline. That's fine too. We've got info@thesilvernerd.com where you can't send us dicks. We have a filter for that. But you can send us emails that aren't dicks.
ASCII dicks.
ASCII dicks. You can send us ASCII dicks. If you just want to do like a bracket, bottom space, bracket, bottom space, bracket, equal capital D, then you can send that to us.
Yeah.
By the way, I literally just told you how to make a dick in ASCII. You can do that. You can do that same thing on fucking Twitch or Twitter at the Surly Nerd. You can send us ASCII dicks.
Yeah, you can.
Honestly, please actually do this. Like
I'm the person who answers all of our Twitter stuff. So.
Legit want, like I get all the email and the Twitter stuff too. I just refuse to touch it. Like a 10-foot pole. If you want to send us your 10-foot pole, these are places you can do this. Yeah. We've got a donate button on our website, thesillynerd.com. If you want to donate to the show, donate button on twitch.tv/sillynerd. Donations go back to us.
We would love a
making more
stream
shit.
box for our show.
Yeah, no, the
please.
stream box is the next thing
That's our dream.
that I'll figure out a way for us to get. If you motherfuckers don't donate.
Episode 300 is right around the
point,
corner.
I think 300. This is a conversation you and me after the show that we actually have to do a Patreon page.
We'll have to figure something out.
If you would be interested in a Patreon page, please let us know, because if you would like to donate to the show on like a monthly or weekly basis,
mini episodes just for you. We'll talk about what the fuck
like
ever.
if you have any ideas of things we could make for you on a Patreon page, because this is shit we need to talk about right now. 300 is right around the corner. Do you realize we've been doing this shit for like 6 years?
I know.
That's like 6 years too many.
That is. All right, that's everything we have to show this week. Thank you to our live studio audience for always tuning in every week. Thank you to all of our listeners out in the podcast world on Spotify. Thank you for all of our new Spotify subscribers. I appreciate every single one of you for doing that. Until next time, for Tony, this is James.
For James, this is Tony.
Until next week, adventurers, good night.
And good game. I lost the mouse there for a second. I don't know what... It looks like a moose. You sent us a moose. I don't know what the fuck. I don't know what the. What
Yeah,
that is.
I mean, we want to do it. We've talked about a Patreon forever.
Is it a chocolate rocket ship? I think it's like a moose sideways.
Thanks for coming on, Steve. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, it's the. We've been asked multiple times before Patreon was a thing.
Yeah, that's true.
People ask like, "Hey, is there a way we could just like monthly, support you?" And our answer was, "I don't know." Yeah. But this requires actually doing like tax stuff. We have to actually like become incorporated and do tax things. So, all right, I'm gonna sign us off and save this, and I'll post it up later. I'm a little bit tired, and I'm just gonna go to bed. I'm not going to bed. I'm gonna go shoot aliens in the face. Catch you later, man.